Hey everybody, how are you this fine Twitch Tuesday, which almost didn't happen. About an hour ago, Twitch was not offline, but it was basically completely broken. No one could see anything. I guess people were actually still streaming and were complaining that, oh, no one actually knows I'm streaming. And there was, so I thought, oh, maybe this would be the first Twitch Tuesday that I took off in, geez, I don't know, a year? No, maybe more like 6, 8 months, something like that. I've been here every Tuesday. That's a lot now that I think about it. Yikes. Anyway, though, but no, they got back up and running. So here we are. And how's everybody doing? Thanks, by the way, in the countdown for getting a hype train going. So I guess thanks to Priscilla for the bits, and to Corathane and Brenner42 and Priscilla for resubscribing. Yay! That's a nice way to get going. Oh, hey, my little progressy things are hidden. Now they're shown. There we go. So that's always at them. Good vibes. Good vibes indeed. Starting to wonder if the stickers are broken. Nobody's been using them for a while. Actually, and that reminds me, I don't have my ear, and I totally forgot to do that as part of my setup. But I wonder how bad it is. I really need to keep my ear in to make sure I can hear well when he's here. When I'm by myself, I'm only worried. Somebody throw a sticker. Throw another good vibe sticker or anything you want. And then tell me if you hear it doubled up because the speaker picks up with my microphone. Anyway, pick a sticker. Okay, so OBS tells me that it can hear those, but it is way down in the I don't think human ears can pick that up register. So yeah, cool. Then I'm going to try this out and just not bother with keeping a thing in my ear, because these Sennheiser earbuds, I've had these for, geez Louise. What just happened? Oh, Branslings, thank you for resubscribing as well. Yay! Okay. So I've had these for a long time. This one is totally dead, so my right ear doesn't work. And this used to stay in my left ear really well. But lately, it started to, you might see it pop out every once in a while while I'm filming. So we'll see if I can get by without it, because that would make things a bit easier. Happy New Year, everyone. Let me be the first to say, I'm sure, to wish you and yours all the best in this brand new exciting year 2023, where mankind finally turns everything around. I'm absolutely confident. Hopefully, this will be more of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of year, instead of, it seems like we've been going the other way for the last few. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am going to be doing something very experimental today. A time roller. My ears are freaking gigantic. And it's really weird. It seems like most days these earbuds are designed to have that kind of rubber thing that you dig deep into your ear canal and it stays there. Those things, I have tried all kinds of different sizes. None of them ever stay in my ear. None of those. So I just have to make do with ones that can just, that are kind of designed to sit loose in the scoop there. And yeah, these work pretty well for that. Anyway, though. Yeah, I know, Brenner, I can't stand. I mean, they're just so incredibly uncomfortable, and they just don't work. Plus, I guess you're supposed to try to twist them, and it's really kills a lot of the external sound. I don't necessarily want to blot out the external sound. I'd like to know if I'm going to get hit by a bus or what have you. So, yeah, those things just don't work for me. But those Sennheisers have worked pretty well. Actually, these days, I have, what do I use? I can't think of it now. Doesn't matter. Because I've gotten off track. Apparently, I'm still a little loopy. Of course, I'm always a little loopy. But today, I am going to start ranking my game collection, which some folks might say, well, that's kind of weird. Your game collection is completely ranked. You can go to rank.rahdo.com and see it. That's why I have on Board Game Geek games rankings that go out to the 5th decimal point, really, so that I can ensure every single thing has specific space. But for a while now, most of the games in the center and around in the anywhere between 8 and 9, that is getting so sloppy. And the number of times I find, well, okay, I really like this game more than this one. Okay, so I'll put it right above that. And then, wait a minute, I don't like this game anywhere near as much as this other one, and that one's now below it. How did that happen? And I think, I've just been kind of updating it as I go for years now, and I think it really does need like a clean sweep and restart. But that is such a daunting task that I've never really decided to get around to it. But then, yesterday, I was watching Paul Grogan of Gaming Rules, hence I am wearing Paul's shirt in honor of him. And yesterday, he was doing part 2 of a live stream that he started last week, where he is using the Pub Meeple ranking engine to rank his entire collection of 600 some games. And okay, yeah, I have tried to use the Pub Meeple ranking engine a few times in the past, and I get 15-20 minutes into it and I'm like, oh my god, kill me now, this is gonna take forever. And granted, it's probably gonna take 2 or 3 hours to do it. I mean, it looks like it's gonna take him upwards of 10 hours to do it at the speed he's going in his live streams, because he just stops and quibbles and really pontificates and all of that. So I've never gotten around to it. But I was watching him yesterday, and it was freaking hypnotic. It was addictive to watch and just, is it rank, and I would agree, I disagree. While I was watching him, and I eventually had to pull myself away from the computer, which very rarely happens for me for live streams. I could take him or leave him because it's very difficult for me to watch a live stream where suddenly everybody's talking at normal speed when I'm used to watching their channels at 2x speed. And that goes for Paul, too. He's like, oh, he's talking so slow, but that gives me more time to respond and say how I would rank A versus B as he was going. And I was really enjoying that, and a lot of people were. And I thought, okay, this has been on my back burner for quite a while. Plus, the other thing, normally, when I do these live streams for the monthly Rahdo Roundup, which is really what I'm here to do, I unbox a game up front, but I don't really have any games I'm excited to unbox right now. I thought about Paperback Adventures. That would have been a cool one to dig into. But I was just like, I'm not, that's not going to, have a lot of impact. And I thought, well, why don't I try this thing? Why don't I take inspiration from Paul Grogan, good friend of mine. I love Paul. I love his channel. Everybody subscribe. In fact, I think when this eventually goes on YouTube, I will put a link to his video. So, because if you enjoy this, you will definitely enjoy him doing it. So we're going to give this a go, folks. Let's come over to the browser view, and here we are on, right. Oh, and I need a banner title. Rahdo Game Rank, Rahdo Collection Ranking Part 1. Save. There we go. All right, cool. All right. So, here we are on the site. And yesterday, I was playing around with it. Although, why does it say today? I did it yesterday. But anyway, and I did a test for the 30 movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just to get a hang of it. And you know what? I might put something in your tip jar, Pub Meeple. I just might. But, and this was actually pretty good. This pretty closely mirrored my feelings about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including all my ridiculous hot takes like, yeah, Eternals is one of the top 10 best games of the Marvel Cinematic, or movies of the Cinematic Universe. And yeah, I like Thor Love and Thunder more than I like Thor Ragnarok. Gasp. And I know everybody else loves it, but honestly, Spider-Man No Way Home is my least favorite of the 3 Spider-Man films. And so this actually came out pretty good. I thought, okay, yeah, and it was fun to do. So let's do it with games. So let me switch over there. Here it is. 417 games. Here they all are in alphabetical order, but we're going to start ranking these things. So let me go on ahead and hit the rank button. And I'm about to do it. It says this is going to require me to make 2,012 decisions, roughly, and estimate it. Now, I am not going to make 2012 rankings today. I figure we'll do this, I don't know, for 15 minutes. If you folks have to let me know. This is a big experiment. If you think this is interesting or engaging, yeah, this is something that I could do. Is it... I thought not next week, but the week after, I'm going to be live streaming on Tuesday doing my podcast, answering questions and answers. And hey, during that, I'll do part 2 of this. So this is something that we could do over the next few months, just, doing 15, 20 minutes at a time until I get all 2,000 some decisions made. So that is kind of the plan. And right out of the gate, here we go. Now, folks, can you read that? Let's see. Is it better to go like this or like this? I can zoom in or out a little bit. Let's see. I wonder if I should turn off the darkness. Yeah, I think actually, yeah, the text is... I use a plugin for Chrome that allows me to apply dark mode to any website I want. And I think it is making the text harder to read. So you're probably, I assume you prefer the light versus the dark. Let me know. Dark mode anywhere is awesome, says Brenner. Top and bottoms there. Yeah, I kind of like this too. You can see the picture of the box. I still have to push left or right, but that's okay. The top one is left, the bottom one is right. Option one is option one in light mode, I'd say. Okay, now we're going to have a poll. Because I have, ever since I started doing this show 10 years ago, always been driven by audience feedback. Okay, new poll. Dark mode / vertical, yay or nay. Right, so there's 4 options, right? Dark mode vertical, dark mode horizontal, light mode vertical, light mode horizontal. Boop, boop, boo. And got 2 minutes for that. Boom. Okay. So, but now you can't see it, can you? Shoot. Oh dear. Hold on a second. All right. I was gonna switch between them, but I forgot how do I fix this? Oh, I don't have a good way to fix that. I really need to make that thing easier to grab because it's in a sub scene, which means I'd have to switch. No, I can go to this, and then it lets me edit a scene without going into it. And right, where are you, poll? Just hide the poll for now. So you folks are continuing to vote, but do you like it light? Do you like it dark? Let's see. The boxes stay light anyway, but the text gets gray. So there it is, horizontal and light, horizontal dark. And then we zoom back in. Oops, not you. We click you, zoom in. And then here we are vertical dark. And here we are vertical light. All right, so those are your 4 options that you are deciding between. And, oh, wow, it could be anybody's mode right now. But it looks like light mode vertical is taking the early lead. Let's once again compare. Yeah, I do think that is a shame. I mean, the function of this plugin I use for Chrome is great, but it sometimes can have some weird stuff like, why did you have to turn this black text gray when going into dark mode? Oh, of course you would, because if the background of this were, black text would disappear, so it had to turn black text gray. But it didn't, because this is some kind of weird custom software they've written. It doesn't change these big white boxes. So yeah, I think maybe white mode is going to be better, but then there is still the question of, would you rather see them side by side, because that's representative of what I'm doing, or would you rather see them this way? Yeah, nobody likes light mode horizontal. One person has chosen that, and yeah, that won't do. So dark mode vertical wins it. Okay, all right, the people have spoken. There we go. Cool. Hopefully, I'm looking at everything I see in a super tiny little window. All right, I need to come back to, where am I? Come back to the browser view. Boom, and then I need to turn this mode off. So I only see myself in a window. I can't read the text at all. What's it look like if I were looking more full screen? Yeah, okay, I guess it's legible, and you can see the text, and people prefer dark to light. I mean, that is the hot thing. It is a shame that these boxes don't get light, but you folks have voted, so this is what we're going to do, and we're going to start voting. Although, hold on a second, let me just, I have not really been looking at the chat very much. Let me just scroll back up and see what you folks have got to say for yourselves. Well, that's the wrong button. So, just scrolling back up. Right, there we were in the countdown. Yes, thank you. I am definitely feeling better when I'm playing now. Although, man, just getting going, I'm starting to sweat and on my forehead, which is not normally something that happens. Now, overall, I start thinking about it, and then I'm reminded my lungs are full of mucus, or at least it feels like they are. I'm towards the end of the sickness when it's just like desperately holding on, and I'm trying to stifle the urge to cough all that stuff up. But my throat's not really sore at all. I am still doing some of these because the menthol helps keep my nose clear, because I will get stuffed up in my nose a little bit if I don't keep popping those. And like I said, I wasn't feeling it half an hour ago, but I am really starting to sweat now. I might have to drop the Board Game Geek sweater before too long. But yeah, thank you. I am definitely on the mend. I imagine by tomorrow I'm going to be back up to 90%. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, there was a sticker test that were done. Cool. Right. Yes, my ears. Right. Hey, Sea Monster. Welcome to the party, pal. Nice to see you here. And oh, thank you for subscribing and giving out a gift as well. I didn't even notice that. Now, see, that's the problem. If that had been in my ear, I would have heard that sound effect. But apparently, I don't hear the speakers over my own yapping maw that just never stops. So let's go on ahead and put the ears. Yeah, let's put the ears back on and just turn that off. Right, and thank you. Hate Brooder. Hey, thank you, Hate Brooder. Sorry, your elite speak with numbers took me a little bit to figure out, but thanks for subscribing, Hate Brooder. Getting ever closer to unlocking more bonus stuff. Speaking of which, by the way, folks, hey, Sea Monster, more community gifts. Oh, Sea Monster, you're the best. Next week, I will not be here, but Ruel will be live streaming on Twitch Tuesday, and he'll be playing Heat. It just showed up in the mail today. I've been desperately trying to get him a copy because I feel like we are the last channel in the universe that hasn't covered this game. Turns out to be one of the hottest games of 2022. So you won't want to miss next week when Ruel is live streaming Heat. I'm looking forward to it because I have not watched anybody else's videos, but I know Ruel, like me, really digs Flamme Rouge. So it'll be cool to see. Let's see here. Right, so then scrolling on. Yes, I'm definitely very much intrigued, Brenner, by seeing how much will things change, right? Will my top 10 actually, end up, my top 10 has been pretty unassailable for years now. And, I mean, things get calcified, right? But forcing me to A, B, a bunch of stuff, who knows what'll happen. Okay. There's all those gifts from Sea Monster. Thank you. I just could get out of next thing so I can watch the whole thing. Oh, Brenner! Quit your job. Obviously, that is what you need to do because you won't want to miss this. Although, of course, as always, folks, you'll be able to watch this afterwards. And I'm only going to do it for like 15 or 20 minutes because the main thing I'm here, I have to film the Roundup today so we can go live. It's already a day late. It should have been on January 1st, but this January 1st, I did my anticipated games of the year instead. So I got to film the Roundup today. It'll be on, and this will be on YouTube tomorrow as well. But, I found this so compelling watching Paul doing it live. And now I'm setting myself up for failure here because maybe I just won't be as good as Paul. But anyway. Monopoly number 1. Do it as a 24-hour marathon. No. I do not have enough of these to make it 24 hours, I'm sorry to say. Right. Let's see here. All right, okay. It looks like, and then there's people testing. Are you changing the guard? Oh, what's this? Oh my gosh! Joko Krakow, you and I worked together reviewing Champions of Midgard. Do I still play it at all, or has it gone the way of the buffalo? Oh gosh, no. Champions of Midgard is long gone. That was just... was that the first one or the second one? I do not remember. There's 2 of Midgard, right? This is the game from Gray Fox, right? Viking worker placement, build up enough to sail across the sea and fight monsters kind of a thing. I have to admit, I do not remember doing this video. There was a time in Malta where I was doing, Final Thoughts videos with somebody new every couple of weeks, and so I did dozens and dozens of them because it used to be a reward as back when I ran Kickstarter. And so I'm sorry. I very much apologize that I do not remember our specific thing. I literally don't remember and I literally don't remember which one Champions of Midgard is. But nope, it is long gone. Hopefully, I have not disappointed you. Okay, so anyway. All right, I'm caught up with the chitty chat. That is all very... Champions is the first. Reavers is the second. Yes. So, Reavers I thought was much better. But if I recall correctly, I ended up not playing it. Shay ended up covering it on the channel. And I watched his video and I thought, oh, I think this would be a lot better because, as I recall, my main problem with Champions, and I'm sure we talked about this, Jojo, was the fact that it was just so swingily random. There was just too much reliance on dice rolls, and I couldn't stand it. So, as I recall, Reavers still had that to a certain extent, but there was more. I don't remember the particulars now, because I never actually played Reavers. But anyway, yes, we're going to get to it. All right, you folks have been waiting long enough. You have voted. And let me go back to the browser. Alrighty, so here we go. Starting now. Rahdo Collection Ranking Part 1 begins. Alrighty. Eaten by Zombies or Steamed Donkey. I don't know if this is always going to rhyme every time. Ooh. I'm going to say Eaten by Zombies. This game does not get near enough love, and it's a really sad story that it never caught on. Because I know the designer tried to self-fund an expansion for it on Kickstarter, and it failed. Always broke my heart. And, I need to put this in the foreground so that when I push left, it will be chosen. Eaten by Zombies. The network, oh wow, right out of the gate. Jeez Louise. Networks versus Furnace. Now, one thing, I am considering all of these not based on the base game. If it was just the base game, it would be Furnace in a heartbeat. Easy peasy. But I am considering the expansions that I have as well. I'm considering it as like one big thing. And the expansions for Networks are amazing. So I think without the expansion, it'd be Furnace. With the expansions, Networks pushes it over the top. Glory to Rome or Yoko. Wow! Gosh! Why is it just picking everything that was like an 8.4 and an 8.43 and making me choose? I should have some easy ones here. I know, right? Tell me about it, whoever just giggled. It's ridiculous. Okay. I think in a younger me, I would probably say Glory to Rome. But as I have matured, I have found I have less and less patience for games with Take That. And Glory to Rome does have a little bit of, I can go fish against you and stuff like that. Whereas Yokohama is just about flawless. So I'm going to pick Yoko over, and I don't think that would have been the case years ago. Oh, wow. Federation versus Boone Lake. Hotness and even hotter hotness. Oh. I'm going to give it to Boone Lake because Federation, as much as I love everything about it, it does have a little bit of focus on area control, whereas Boone Lake, I think, overall is much more live and let live, so it's just a better fit for us. But these are both excellent games. So Boone Lake. Paris, New Eden, or Firenze. Oh, wow. Okay. Paris, New Eden was one of the first games to really popularize the entwined dice drafting, and it did it brilliantly. It's become such a thing nowadays. Entwined drafting, Cascadia, all the rest of it. Whereas Paris New Eden was way ahead of the curve. But Firenze has that classic, what do you call it? The small world style drafting of, I really want that expensive thing. I got to put all my money on the previous things. And honestly, wow. I think if this were closer when Paris New Eden came out, I'd probably go with that, but there have been so many entwined drafting games that have really pushed it to the next level. Not that Paris New Eden isn't great, but I'm going to give it to Firenze. Village Green versus Viticulture. Oh, that's a pretty easy one. Village Green, after the change they made, because Jen and I had a problem with it, and so they made a special official variant, the Rahdo variant. With that, Village Green, definitely. Wait, no! That's base Viticulture. I own Viticulture World, and Viticulture World is fan-freaking-tastic. Now, there won't be any expansions on this list, but I have to consider Viticulture as a summation of all the stuff I have, and I have Viticulture World. And so, based on how phenomenal the co-op is, even though I'm kind of disappointed they didn't put any difficulty scaling, that's a real bummer. That's a black eye and not a feather in its cap for all the Joseph Heller fans out there. But I'll still, in spite of that, give it to Viticulture. Oh, plus, that's another thing I do. I always rate these not on house rule variants. Oh, but no, when they become official. Right, so Village Green could have. Anyway, Dog Lover, and then they held hands. Oh, Dave Kirkhope. A personal friend of mine from Malta. Oh, I broke one of my halls. All right, I might have to swallow this. It's starting to make a lot of saliva in my mouth. But anyway, Dog Lover is like a top 10 of the year. And Dave, I love And Then We Held Hands, but it's a sweet little abstract game that I have for nostalgia as much as anything else, whereas Dog Lover is a top 10 of the year. And so Dog Lover, definitely. Turn in Taxes or Feast for Odin. Now, this would shock people to say that I would definitely, just based on the base game, I would take Turn in Taxes over Feast for Odin. Feast for Odin, with just the base game, without the Norwegian expansion, I didn't keep. I got rid of it. I was so disappointed by some of the design decisions in that game. But Norwegians fixed all the problems. And so, assuming Norwegians, it beats Turn and Taxes. Alrighty. Praetor and Witchstone. Oh. Alright. I am going to go Witchstone. I mean, Praetor had that really cool thing about, it's dice worker placement, but your dice age. And, it actually replicates. Ancient Rome apparently was the first society, in the Western world anyway, that supported the idea of Social Security and retirement benefits. And you can literally retire your dice. And I always love that. I think that's lovely. But Witchstone is so cool and fun and puzzly, and it's got so much replayability. I'm going to go with Witchstone. Alrighty. Cloud Age or Foreign Trajanum. Ooh, Feld versus Pfister. Didn't have to wait long for this. Wow. You know what? I'm going to give it to Pfister because I am always a fan when he does his, hey, you know what? Here's my game. It's great. It's a standalone game, but hey, here's a campaign you can play through. 6 chapters. It changed things and gives you a little bit more reason to keep coming back. Every time he does that, I love that. I wish more publishers would do that. That's what puts it over the top. Although Forum Trajanum is one of Feld's best. Viceroy versus CV. Okay. CV is probably going to be that because I love it. Although CV has really been supplanted by Pursuit of Happiness as the ultimate modern Euro-style game of life simulation. And Viceroy was very puzzly, as I recall. Okay, I got to swallow the rest of this stuff. This gets getting crazy. All right. Viceroy, that was the thing. Where everybody was building a pyramid. You were trying to get the marbles, the lights together to match colors. That was really nice. I like that one a lot. But no, I mean, the sheer charm of CV wins out. Discordia, new hotness versus role player hotness from days gone by. Jeez. Wow. I don't know. What do you think, folks? Of course, probably most of you haven't played Discordia because it's brand spanking new. I love Discordia's dice worker placement stuff and the dice manipulation, and I love the, it's got that Anno 1800 thing where you're bringing more people in to your, the more successful you are, the more people come in and you're just trying to find jobs for everybody. But Role Player is just so phenomenal. Such a great puzzler, and so, it's like the ultimate thematic, tile layer, because the theme is, I'm rolling up a D&D character. Okay, I'll give it to Role Player. That's really tough. Because Discordia is great too, but I'm going to give it to Role Player. All right. Railroad Revolution versus Runebound 3rd Edition. Now, Runebound 3rd Edition would not stay in my collection at all if it weren't for the, I forget the name of it, but the expansion that made it co-op. And that was really, really good. I liked it a lot. And I liked Railroad Revolution too. I mean, are we at a rest in peace? What's your game by this point? Maybe we are. But Runebound's approach to co-op, actually, thinking about it, Shay and I, we did a shared final thoughts for the Skyrim board game the other day. And the stuff that I really liked from that Skyrim board game, now I think about it, Runebound Co-op 3rd Edition did really well also. So I'm going to say Runebound 3rd Edition. Okay. Goblins versus Zombies and Quadropolis. All right. A very cool little cooperative, although it had a competitive mode, but it was really ideally played cooperative, is basically Plants versus Zombies, except they replaced the plants with goblins. But it was, I know there was an official Plants versus Zombies board game, but that didn't come anywhere near as close to capturing the brilliance of that video game as Goblins versus Zombies did. But Quadropolis from Days of Wonder is one of the best light, straightforward Sims. It's got to be Quadropolis. It's a strong, fun, thematic cooperative game with really smart card hand management versus incredibly cool, puzzly, really Vice-like restrictive drafting. I think it goes to Quadropolis. Okay, Tiny Epic Defenders, and now this is Tiny Epic Defenders with all the expansion stuff versus Glenmore 2, which has all the expansion stuff built in. This is blasphemy, folks. Total blasphemy, but I'm going to say Tiny Epic Defenders because Glenmore 2, the new stuff they threw in was great, and neat ways. But I mean, they made a core change to Glenmore that made Glenmore weaker, and it always just kind of sat wrong with me. So I'm sure this is blasphemy for most people, and Tiny Epic Defenders is still one of the greatest cooperative fantasy games there has ever been. It's basically like a little mini hyper-speed pandemic, and we love it. So I'm going to say Tiny Epic Defenders. Gasp. Alrighty, First Class all aboard, and Free Radicals. First Class. Oh, it was incredibly tension-filled card drafting, right? A big communal card draft, trying to grab the cards. They disappear so fast. You're constantly losing out on stuff you need. It's just impossible to keep up. And just a really satisfying, I think it's from a couple of 18XX designers, but a really wonderful Euro. But Free Radicals, I have to give it to Free Radicals. The insane design of that game that brings 10 completely different, disparate asymmetric games that all work well, but then come together in a competitive game where everybody's trying to help each other for their own. It's incredible. Free Radicals over First Class. Railroad Inc. Deep Blue versus Akrotiri. I'm going to say Akrotiri. Even though Akrotiri is a pick up and deliver, this is one of the best pick up and delivers there ever was, because you don't spend all your time slowly moving from one place to another. I mean, and Railroad Inc. is fantastic. This is, by the way, a summary for Inc. If I had all 4 Railroad Incs., if I had the yellow and the green as well, those might go up top. But this is a stand-in for I only own blue and red. And really, yellow is the best Railroad Inc. And if I were comparing Railroad Inc. Yellow to Akrotiri, it might have a chance. But otherwise, Akrotiri is so brilliant, deserves so much more love. Did I hear is getting a reprint soon? Anyway, CO2, Second Chance versus Four Gardens. Boy. What an interesting choice. I want to say CO2, Second Chance. I mean, but it's weird. I mean, I talked earlier about how as our tastes have matured, as we're getting older, we are finding it harder and harder to be able to muster the mental fortitude to scale Mount Vital Lacerda with his games. Whereas Four Gardens is just so pure and clean and simple and fast and elegant. I absolutely love it. And plus, my wife absolutely adores the gimmick or gadget, as she would call it, of the 4 towers that rotate, the different floors rotate independently. I'm going to say Four Gardens. And I'm sorry, Vital. It's not to me. I don't love your stuff. It's just my brain. Okay. Onorim versus King Domino Duel. Oh. Boy, this is really good at making tough choices. I was hoping there'd be a lot more 9s versus 7s, but it seems to just be doing nothing but 8s versus 8s, back to back to back. King Domino Duel is much better than King Domino. King Domino Duel is a roll and write of King Domino. Onorim, of course, has all that flexibility and variability with all the different. But Onorim, interestingly, is not the best of the Oniverse games. So I'm going to give it to King Domino Duel. Okay. Botanic, the latest game from the designer of Jaipur, versus Tobago. I have a lot of nostalgia for Tobago, and Tobago does some very, very cool things that I wish some other designer would say, wow, some games have done the Tobago style. Hey, we slowly reveal parts of a map but Tobago still does it best. But Botanic is such a wonderful 2-player, incredibly tension-filled game with all kinds of opportunities for players to... Oh, of course, these are both games where players are creating opportunities for each other, aren't they? I'm going to give it to Botanic, though, honestly. Although, man, those components in Tobago are brilliant, too. But no, I'm going to go Botanic. Okay. Chitchat Bruges or Star Trek Missions? Star Trek Missions. The Fantasy Realm system in any form. I mean, Chitchat Bruges is a fantastic, wonderful roll and write. You can play along with me and Ruel. You can download a copy and print it out and see if you can beat Ruel, so you can try for yourself. But as it is, it's Star Trek. Even if it's not my favorite Star Trek, man, I wish Star Trek Missions focused on the OG crew instead of Next Gen. But still, regardless, Star Trek Missions. Dragonfire versus Paperback. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Now, Dragonfire, of course, is basically a fantasy retheme of one of my top 10s of all time, Shadowrun Crossfire. But it's not as good as Shadowrun Crossfire. I mean, they made some changes when they did it that really, to try and make the game easier, that kind of weakened the game overall. They added some cool stuff too. But at the end of the day, Dragonfire is not as good as Shadowrun Crossfire. Plus, they only took us halfway through a campaign that we're caught up on, and the campaign will never end because they lost the rights. So it's like it's like one of those Netflix shows that they got canceled at the end of the first season and it left with a cliffhanger. So I'm not crazy about that either. And paperback is just so good. So good. I mean, paperback did the impossible. It made me actually fall in love with word games, which I thought would never happen because I hate Scrabble so much. So I'm going to give it to paperback. Let's see here. Curse of the Temple. Escape versus Thermopylae. Oh, that's a pretty easy one. No offense to Thermopylae. Thermopylae, by the way, is a game that I think only 20 people in the world own. It was a freebie, gift with purchase if you went on the first ever Cardboard and Son package holiday deal. And Tuco Tacalia went, and he was the designer of Eclipse, and he said, hey, you know what, for this, I'm going to design a fun little game. And it was a fun little co-op, or best solo, but a fun little co-op game. I've kept it all these years, but it's more as a keepsake. Whereas Escape is in Jen's top 10 of all time, and I really still love it. So Escape, Curse of the Temple. Alrighty, Space Explorers versus Amun-Re, the card game. Those are two excellent games. Wow. Space Explorers really deserves a lot more love. It is such a good card drafting and engine building game. But Amun-Re is basically Raw crossed with Amun-Re, the original game. If I could only own one, which would I keep? I do like the Space Explorers theme more. It is much more thematic. But I do think the gameplay of Amun-Re card game is better. So, is it though? Is it? I mean, one problem is I have played Amun-Re card game more recently than I have played Space Explorers. Can I skip? Can I come back to this? No, I can't. It forces me to choose. All right, my gut is Amun-Re card game, so we'll go with that. All right, Arion, which, by the way, earlier I said Onarim is not the best game in the Onaverse series. Arion is. This is the best from Shady Torbay, although I have not played his new one yet. Silverian or something like that. But anyway, versus Capo de Capi. Hey, it's a co-op game with a sweet, wonderful, whimsical dream world as opposed to a mobster, dice-driven area control game. Now, here's the thing. I have to give caps to Capo de Capi that it's so good that we keep it. Jen hates the theme, the Prohibition-era mobsters and stuff. And, and area control is not her favorite thing either. So, I mean, it deserves mega kudos for even giving me a second to pause, but I ultimately will go with Arion. On Tour, one of the best roll and writes of all time, versus Verdant. Verdant. Oh, that is tough. Okay, is anybody in the chat? Somebody must have played both of these. Oh, I see Board Game Brie is bemoaning that I didn't pick Space Explorers. I understand. That was a tough one. That was a very tough one. That could have gone either way. Last says On Tour. Oh, you know what? Just showed up in the mail the other day. The new On Tour Vegas. No, not On Tour Vegas. On Tour New York and Paris. And those two things really elevate the depth of On Tour. Without those, it would be tough. I might push Verdant, but because this On Tour is going to be a stand-in for all of that, I'm going to go with On Tour. Okay. Carnegie versus Dungeon Pets. New hotness versus old hotness. You know what? I'm going to say Dungeon Pets. Actually, it's not that hard. Because Dungeon Pets is nearly perfect. Carnegie is not quite. My biggest problem with Carnegie, aside from subject matter, is that I really would have wished there was more variability in the departments you can install in your corporation. They're all pretty samey. And so... it's the same problem I have with Black Angel. The different things. The things are supposed to great variety from game to game. There's not enough variety within them. So I'm going to go with Dungeon Pets. Plus, Dungeon Pets is amazing. Teotihuacan, City of the Gods versus Kashgar. Merchants of the Silk Road. Well, if it were just the base game, it'd be Kashgar. Easy. Because Teotihuacan, I was very disappointed by how bumping worked. And I thought it was a really missed trick. Like, the coolest thing about the game was designed in such a way that it pretty much never happens. Because nobody ever bumps anybody in the game. But they did kind of address it. In and I know there's been like 3 expansions. I've only played the first one, if I recall correctly. And I've got the second one. I just haven't gotten around to it. So many games to play. But even still, they addressed my biggest problem with Teotihuacan, but not in a way that I personally would have done it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I still think my way would have been better. Whereas Kashgar, I have no notes. It is a perfect 3 at the same time engine building game, so I'm going to give it to Kashgar Merchants of the Silk Road. Warsaw, City of Ruins versus Pergamon. Warsaw is one of the best tile layers of all time. Pergamon is a very, very cool... would you call it Pusher Luck? No. Is it an auction? No, it's really unique. It's kind of hard to describe it. I haven't played it for years. But tile laying is one of my favorite mechanisms of all time. So I think it's going to go with Warsaw City of Ruins. Or Capital, as it is previously known. Madeira versus Euphoria. Now here's the deal. I love Euphoria. For it's just, everything about it is just so audacious and out of left field and unique and quirky. And I don't know if it introduced worker placement bumping, but if it didn't, it was certainly one of them. And whoa! Hey, Board Game Geek! Welcome to the party, everybody. You are right in the middle of me ranking my personal collection. Now, I'm not going to do my entire personal collection today. Apparently, I barely even made a scratch in the surface there. Do I have to save? Yes. Please save. What is today? Today is 1/3. I assumed this would have been saving as I went, but I better save in case I crash or something like that. So I'm just doing A/B comparisons using the Pub Meeple. I'm going to be doing this for like another, 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'll do some more back and forth with the audience, and then I will tell you, countdown the 21 best games Jen and I played. So if you want to hear about maybe dozens and dozens of games in quick little microbyte format, you've come to the right place, because I'm going to tell you about all the games today. So stick around, get comfortable, and thanks, Lincoln and Nikki, or Lincoln and Nikki. I almost got that, Lincoln and Nick, anyway. So, Madeira versus Euphoria. At the end of the day, as much as I love everything about Euphoria's quirky offbeat nature, I think Madeira is the better design. So I'm going to go with Madeira. City Skylines versus Indus 2500 BCE. I love the idea of a cooperative SimCity game. I love the idea of a cartographer's style roll and write that doesn't have any nasty take that, unlike cartographers. So that's a good face-off. But ultimately, cooperative SimCity is more novel and engaging to me. So I'll give it City Skylines. Grand Austria Hotel. And now this is including the Let's Waltz expansion. And Origins First Builders, which I wish was, an expansion for that is coming out this month, which maybe would let it win. Origins First Builders is an amazing game from, is it Adam Kopinski? But no, Grand Austria Hotel is one of the OG greats of modern Euroness, so it's got to be Grand Austria Hotel. Is there anybody who would disagree with that? I don't think so. Even the designer of, even Adam Kopinski himself would agree. All right, Cubitos versus Selenia. Ooh. It's interesting, they're both kind of race games. Alexander Pfister versus John D. Clare. Cubitos is so cool with its variability. Borrowed from automobiles. Selenia is basically the spaceship portion of Black Angel turned into its own standalone game. It's very, very good. It's really chillaxed and laid back. Whereas Cubitos is very, very high energy, tension filled. I think I'm going to go with Cubitos for that reason. All things being equal, I tend towards tension filled games as opposed to relaxing games. All right. Morels versus New Frontiers. Morels is lovely. But it is still just at its heart a simple, charming, engaging little card drafting set collection game with a subject matter I don't care about at all. Whereas New Frontiers is basically Race for the Galaxy turned into a board game. And as far as I'm concerned, it improves on Race for the Galaxy. So I'm going to give it to New Frontiers. Okay. Heroes of Tennefer versus Rococo Deluxe Edition. Heroes of Tennefer, probably one that most people haven't heard of. It's a neat little cooperative fantasy deck builder where every time you beat a monster, you take the card, flip it upside down, and then that's a reward that gets added into your deck, and we're working collaboratively, trying to delve multiple dungeons at once. It's really neat. I haven't played this expansion. I do have the expansion. I'd really like to try it. But Rococo is amazing. And this deluxe edition added so much cool stuff. And it's so gorgeous. But here's a Tennefer, man. All things being equal, I prefer cooperation to, you know what? I think I'm going to do a big upset. I'm going to give it to Heroes of Tennefer. Oh, Natillion versus Roll Through the Ages. The Bronze Age. I mean, that's an easy one just for nostalgia. I mean, Roll Through the Ages Bronze Age was like one of the first 5 games that I played after I got into Modern Designer board game because pandemic brought us in. And of course, I'm going to try another Matt Leacock game, and it turns out it's amazing. And it's still one of the best roll and writes to this day. And Natillion is great. The only problem with Natillion is, you know how all the Oniverse games have a lot of little modules you can turn on to mix and match them? Natillion, it feels like you have to turn them all on just to get a core game. That the core game itself isn't rich enough without all those elements turned on. So I'm going to give it to the Roll Through the Ages. Okay, Beer and Bread, New Hotness. I think, isn't that what you folks were just watching on the Board Game Geek TV? Versus Cosmic Run Rapid Fire, which is the roll and write version of Cosmic Run from Steve Finn. Wow. How did Lincoln and Nikki like Beer and Bread? If anybody from the raid is still here. Because I like it a lot. Boy, do I like it a lot. But Rapid Fire is a very, very good roll and write. Much more thematic than most roll and writes. But it is a simpler game. Beer and Bread is just about... I have to give it to Beer and Bread. I have to. It's so good. I mean, I've said Beer and Bread might be Scott Alm's best design to date. Not my favorite. That would still be Tiny Epic Defenders. But anyway, Spring Meadow, the best of the Rosenberg Polyomino light games that, you like there's this whole, like 4 or 5 of them, versus the Great City of Rome. Oh, wow. A definitely forgotten to the ravages of time. And that was a very, very cool game. But here's the deal. Great City of Rome gameplay is fantastic. Really good, sharp, tension-filled game. It is also, sadly, one of the ugliest games to come out in the last decade. And I mean, I don't blame the artist. I'm sure the artist was just following the remit they got. Because I think I went and I looked and, hey, this artist has done really cool stuff elsewhere. But this was, I mean, the box art is the best thing about the game. It's so ugly, whereas Spring Meadow is wonderful, and it's the best because it's because unlike the other Uwe Rosenberg polyomino tile layers, he actually paid attention to Tetris and said, hey, you know what? All the pieces have to come in from the top and slide down, and that creates that extra level of tension that really ratchets it up. So I'm going to go Spring Meadow. Okay, Fleet, the original Fleet, the card game, auction game, versus Helvetia. Helvetia is the reason I am here today, folks. Helvetia is the reason I picked up my iPhone 4 and started filming games because there was no video for it on Board Game Geek and people were asking for it. And I said, okay, I can try that. And Helvetia has so much really cool stuff from one of my top 10 designers of all time. Or once, I do not know if Matthias Kramer is still in my top 10 designers. When I did my top 10 designers, gosh, must have been over half a decade ago, he was in the top 5. I might have to reevaluate that, but still, Helvetia is one of his best. And hey, so far ahead of its time because it allows for same-sex marriage and all kinds of stuff too, which is very, very nice. Or wait, no, didn't it? No, it didn't. That's right. Actually, I don't remember now. But here's the deal. I have to include the expansion for Fleet. And with the expansion, it added an automated dummy player for auctions and so it's one of the best 2-player auction games there is in the market because of the way they implemented the dummy player with the expansion. So I'm going to give it to Fleet. Okay, the Magnificent. Progress list updated. What does that mean? Does that mean I don't have to hit the save button? Because I feel like I should hit the save button a lot. Oh, or does it just mean that, hey, we've moved up a little bit? I guess this is the progress meter, and we've got a long way to go. The Magnificent versus Sriracha. Oh, I bet you has anybody here heard of Sriracha? If not, it's because you haven't been paying attention to my channel. I did a run through for it. It's really neat. But It's a nice, light, little, clever card drafting game, but Magnificent is, I mean, they wear their heart on their sleeve. It is a magnificent game, pulling so many different things together. I think I have to put the Magnificent. I have to give it to that one. Targi versus Eminent Domain. Wow. One of the best two-player head-to-head dually style games of all time versus Seth Jaffe's masterpiece, one of the greatest games that Tasty Minstrel Games ever published. I mean, Eminent Domain has all that. I mean, honestly, I'd rather play Eminent Domain than Puerto Rico, quite frankly. I think it improves on Puerto Rico. And it's just a really satisfying, it's a deck builder. It's so upsets the deck builder paradigm in really cool ways. But Targi is such a brilliant little game. Plus, I do have that Targi expansion. Actually, I have all the Eminent Domain expansion. I haven't played them all yet. I think I'm going to give it to Targi. Sorry, Seth, wherever you are. Riverside versus Glass Road. Glass Road is one of Uwe Rosenberg's best. Riverside is a wonderful roll and write. Yeah, but one of Uwe Rosenberg's best of all time. Yeah, that's a really lovely roll and write's not going to beat that. Acropolis, brand new tile layer versus Black Angel. I love Acropolis. I love the expanding outwards and upwards. I love the thematic integration of how everything scores. But Black Angel is a work of art. I mentioned this earlier. My only complaint about Black Angel, I wish it would get an expansion to make some of the objective planety type cards have a little bit more variety to them because they play it a little safe. But even still, it's such a brilliant game. I think I'd have to go with Black Angel, definitely. Cryo, a wonderful worker game from Tom Jolly and Luke Laurie versus Queen's Architect. Oh, wow. Queen's Architect. It's got to be Queen's Architect. That is such a cool, one of the coolest, another one of those games that has an incredible gimmick or gadget, that really tracks the passage of time. It's kind of like Zolk in the Mayan calendar if there were lots of little individual time gears all working independently. It's really cool. I highly recommend it. For all the time machination. What you're actually doing, it actually kind of reminds me of last year's Tealetum. Tealetum had a really cool next-gen action selection mechanism, but then you're doing kind of boring stuff in the world, just traveling around and building guild houses. Same is kind of true for Architect, or Queen's Architect. But yeah, those gears of time that you're constantly manipulating are too good to pass up. It's amazing. Okay, Subastral versus Solar Sphere. These are two excellent games. Solar Sphere, or Subastral. That's the thing where if you draft from the left or the right and you're building the biomes, Solar Sphere is the dice worker place. You know what? Solar Sphere, if I recall correctly, I said, hey, it actually improves on Castles of Burgundy in certain ways. So if it improves on one of the greatest Stefan Feld game of all time, it's got to go for Solar Sphere. Avenue, one of my favorite roll and writes, versus At the Gates of Loyang, one of my wife's favorite Uwe Rosenberg games. Here's the deal. To make Gates of Loyang palatable for us, we have to house rule it to remove all. There's just so many negative attack steely cards in that game. Why are they there? They serve no purpose. The game as is, I mean, it's easy to change. You just take those cards out. But I always wonder, does that mean I break the balance somehow? So, whereas Avenue is just about high tension, route building, roll and write perfection. So, don't tell Jen anybody, but I'm going to give it to Avenue. The Whatnot Cabinet, one of Steve Finn's best, and K2. One of the greatest race games in board game form of all time. I would be inclined to give it to K2 because normally I don't like race games. And so a race game I actually like really, that bumps it up quite a bit. But the ending of K2 can be so incredibly anticlimactic and almost broken. It's not broken. It's just thematically broken. It can be so thematically broken. Whereas Whatnot Cabinet, again, I have no notes. It's just about perfection for King Domino style drafting and then really tense tile laying on top of it. I'm going to give it to the Whatnot Cabinet. Gutenberg versus Fuse. Those are two very different games. Gutenberg, very, very cool, big, crunchy Euro with amazing components. Fuse, I'm going to give it to Fuse. I love co-op games more than competitive games, and I love real-time games that Jen will play with me. And this game is just about perfection, so it's got to be Fuse. Not a slang on Gutenberg at all. Solar Draft versus Hallertau. Oh, that's a hard one. Solar Draft, one of the last games Tasty Mistral Games ever produced, and sadly, one of their best, quite frankly. And I don't think anybody ever saw it. It's a really cool little drafting game where we're getting planets, trying to make our own solar system, jostling them around. Really good stuff. And the way it anthropomorphizes the planets is so charming. Hallertau is a return to greatness for Uwe Rosenberg. And I know not everybody agrees. It seems like it's a very Marmite-style game. But I thought Hallertau, with its million compounding objective, cowboying to objective, to objective, to objective, to objective, was so good. I'll have to give it to Hallertau. Okay. Charterstone versus Myrmes. Myrmes is great, and I love the core. The coolest thing about it is a worker placement game where, there's these objectives. If I want to score this objective, I have to sacrifice my workers to tag the objective so I can score it. So you always have this tough choice of how long do I keep my workers, and then somebody else grabs the objective I want. But Charterstone is so... Jen and I, we played through Charterstone, I was going to say twice, but 1.5 times. We had 2 copies of it. And sadly... we'll probably never get a chance to finish it. David and Angela, someday we will get back and we will finish it, because the second time we played, we were playing with some friends of ours in England, David and Angela, and we had intended to... It's like a whole thing. But Charterstone is just too wonderful. And it's a reflection of us, and it has so many lovely legacy-style memories. So I'll give it to Charterstone. It's a Wonderful World versus Luxor. One of the greatest race games versus one of the greatest engine building games. Well, seeing as how I prefer engine building to racing, I do think It's a Wonderful World is the win. Oh man, that's such a great game. Especially with all the expansions and they add story, campaigns, and all that. Luxor is great, but it is a race game, so that's going to not rate as high for me. Notre Dame, I think this was the first Steffenfeld game I ever played, versus Anachrony. Maybe David Turchi's greatest game to date. Thank you. Is that Mir for subscribing with Prime? Hey, we're getting closer to unlocking more stuff. That's cool. Nobody tell Dave, but it's Steffenfeld. Come on, and it's still Notre Dame would still, I think, if I were to update my top 10 Steffenfeld games, I think Notre Dame would still make it. It's still to this day one of the best examples of closed drafting, in the industry. So yeah, I got to give it to Notre Dame. Plus, I love the rats. I love the pressure of the mounting plague and all that. Grand Carnival, a wonderful tile layer versus My Sharp, a game that fixes Machi Koro. Oh, those are really close. Those are really close, and that's where I say save. I am done for the day. Save my progress, please. Alrighty, update. Update my save. Alrighty, progress list saved. Folks, we are done with that because I didn't want to think about that. This is getting tough. That is tough. So I don't know, folks, what did you think? Was this interesting? Was this engaging? Would you have rather had me unbox a game or two in the warm-up section? I am genuinely curious because 2 weeks from now on Twitch Tuesday, I'm going to be, live streaming, answering questions in the podcast, and I will start that live stream with doing this more or with going back to unboxing games. So it's really up to you folks. In fact, you know what? Because it's up to you folks, you're all here. You get to vote. You get to choose. Alrighty, new poll. Which do you prefer as a warm-up? Unboxings or what's it called? Collection ranking. Boom. You folks have 2 minutes to determine the future of the channel. Hey, and now I can put that other thing back on. Let me go back and fix that. How do I do that? I come back over here. I go over to there. I say don't hide the poll. There it is. Alrighty. So, And remember, folks, you can always use bits and, channel points you've earned and all that, etc., etc. Let's see. Boop. Turn that off. And how's it going? All right, well, so far, not much love for unboxing. Wow, oh my gosh, this is a blowout. 2-29 so far. Of course, there could be some unboxing lovers who are holding on to the last couple seconds and will blow a lot of points in to push it over the top. But I think, so it sounds like you're enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I personally, obviously, this is more interesting to me too. It's a fun walk down memory lane kind of thing, and I enjoy the unboxings as well. But the unboxings, I feel a lot of pressure because when I do them, I try to make sure that I know what's in the box before I open it. So I just tell you, hey, well, these are some punches, and these are some dice, and these are some chits, and there's a rule book. But I can actually tell you a little bit about the game. I can say, well, your setup, as I understand it, this is this and that is that. So it's really kind of a preview for the game also. And that is more work for me to do when I unbox stuff. I'm not saying I always succeed at that, but that is certainly what I go for. So I'm not going to complain. And it looks like, I'm sorry, unboxing fans, all three of you, it does not look like you're going to be able to make a comeback here at all. Let's see here. I agree. When this is eventually done, which I imagine, what did I do? You know what? Hey, hold on a second. I think it'll tell me how far I'm gone, right? Jeez Louise, folks. We just did that for what? 30, 40 minutes. And, let me bring it back. Oh, and by the way, yep, collection ranking is the winner. No surprise there. All right. That's kind of where I figured it was going to go. But if I come back over, can I show you this? Browser. Here's the, let me unpin that. 2%. We made it through, can you see that? Right there? Right there. 2%. And then it would pick up. All right, I'm not going to pick up. All right, if I do this, got my Marvel Cinematic Universe and 2% done. So this is going to take a year, quite frankly. And this is the problem that Paul Grogan ran into. And for folks who came in late, I just want to give all the credit in the world to Paul Grogan of Gaming Rules. He started doing this a week ago as a live stream on YouTube, and I found it so fascinating and addictive to watch that I figured I should give it a try too. And so everybody go subscribe to Paul Grogan Gaming Rules. He is the best. Literally, one of the best. And when this shows up on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube later on, there's a link to Paul's version of what I just did. And in his first episode, he has 600 games to go through. He was doing a lot of what I was doing, just talking about them and pontificating. And then in the second one I watched, he was going boom, 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 and something. So he made a much bigger dent. I might have to do that. But apparently it was a success. Apparently you folks liked it, so we will keep it up. And yes, when it is all done at the end of it, whenever that happens, I'll still have my existing rankings. And I'll probably replace my existing rankings with the new ones, but I'll bring them both into Excel and do a diff to see how things have shifted around. So that should be cool. Let's see here. And I see that Laz asks, how many games am I ranking? When I did this, when I filtered my collection, it came up with 417, which was weird because I think I have 418, but I just couldn't be bothered to find which was the odd one that disappeared. But it's 418, and obviously I've got to get much, much quicker at it in a big, big way. So, what else is going on? All right. But anyway, I think, folks, we are now, you are here for the second half, which is really what I'm here to do today. Everything that was just happening up to now was a warm-up for the main event, and the main event is I am now going to do a countdown telling you the 21 games Jen and I played in the month of December. We played a lot, and ranking them from my least favorite to my most favorite. It's the monthly Rahdo Rounds Up. And there's not much more to say. Oh, but there's one more thing to say. Before we get going, we always like to start things off with a battle royale. So let's get to it. Boom. Is it working? Did I type it in right? Can I type? I think I did it. I typed battle. Why is everybody dancing? What is happening here? Streaming avatars, what are you doing? You're not battling royale. Battle Royale. All right, that was weird. All right, anyway. So we'll have a vicious fight to the death. And then we will see what we'll see. Oh, there's Kabuki, the Star Queen, as always. Let's see what Kabuki gets up to. Ninja style, Kabuki just says, "What am I playing now? I don't care. I'm just going to smash you into the ground." Then he throws down with Ruel and Brenzor, and everybody dogpiles on Kabuki, and Kabuki makes a run for it and escapes. Runs right into another scrum, and wow, I can barely see Kabuki, but just like the ninja she is, just seems to avoid unscathed everything, just taking little pot shots at everyone, and everybody completely ignoring her. She is, wow, she came out of all of that still at 50% health. Jeez Louise, Kabuki. You're a monster. Run, Thinker Themer, run! And Kabuki just got the health back. Oh, man. So now Kabuki has it in for Amy and Maggie. Hey, Amy and Maggie. Welcome. I didn't know you were here. Nice to see you. Maybe they'll be able to take out Poppy Docs before Kabuki finishes the job. Kabuki, our first 3-time winner. Now, that's weird because Kabuki won the end of the year. Kabuki won the first time we ever did a Battle Royale. Kabuki won in the last one of 2022 and the first one of 2023. This is all completely random. Oh, there's no music. Oh, shoot. Of course there wasn't. I have to set up the music manually. And right before I started streaming, I noticed, oh, crap. My frame rate seems ridiculously slow. So I rebooted the machine. And after rebooting, I forgot. All right. Oh, well, say la vie. So that was part of Kabuki's ninja stealth attire. You know, she got in unheard, even without the music covering her approach. Sorry about that. Yeah. But yes, Rare Orb, in theory, yes, completely random. I mean, Kabuki had no control over what was happening there at all. But that's quite the coinky dink. I don't know if she's hacked the what you call it servers. I know she's in tech, if I recall correctly. So she's a sharp cookie, but she's just the best when it comes right down to it. Or her ninja stylings give her the upper hand. Okay, so that is done. That is out of the way. And let me go on and make sure. So the browser page is still fine, right? Let's see. Although, you know what? Just in case anybody wants to duel, let me go on ahead and fix the sound really quick. Because you'd want to hear your Mortal Kombat music, of course. Wouldn't want that to go away. So I have to go into sound. I have to go into advanced sound options. I have to go into app volume and device preferences. I have to tell stream avatars to go back to default and then go back to virtual cable B to reset it. So now there should be sound. Are you hearing the farting? Yep. Okay. I think I could hear it. So hopefully that took care of the sound. Although it is too late for the epic battle that we just witnessed. That was very exciting. Okay. Hey, I haven't done this for a while, just for fun. Mass bomb. Is that how that works? There we go. Just because it's silly. Oh, and meanwhile, we do have an epic duel going up in the top corner while everybody else is, it's raining bombs. To ring in the new year, of course. Happy New Year, everybody. It's a fireworks display. While we have the epic duel where they are gambling for what? 10? Come on, Goblin. You have way more than 10 coins. You should be gambling like 5,000 coins, I'd be willing to bet. You've been here for so long. Finish him. Boom, there we go. All right. Okay. So, that's all cool. Sound is fixed. Sorry, I totally forgot to fix it for the Battle Royale. Oh, Goblin, that's very kind of you. Giving all your coins away to others so they could customize themselves. That's very nice. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, cool. Now then, I think we're ready to go. So let me get back to the browser. Spoiler alert, my number 21 is a universal truth. Right, there it is. Oh, and I have to change the banner. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. And, yeah, I think we're good to go. So, folks, this is going to be a countdown from number 21, a universal truth, all the way to my number 1, which, of course, I'm not going to reveal right now. I think all my tabs are set up correctly. So, Rare Orb, you have a command for that. If you scroll down below the video, there's a list of all the commands you can do for your stream avatars, and one of them tells you, or apparently Goblin knows, it can tell you how much you have. And I think if you do that, only you see the response. I don't think it's announced to everybody how much money you have. But I could be wrong about that. And there's like commands for how you can give stuff to, or maybe you did. Maybe you just announced to everybody that you have 856 gold. So, yeah, I mean, make those duels count. I mean, I wonder if I have a lot of controls. I've never really played with the stream avatars. Like, you have to have a buy-in of at least 500 for a duel or something like that. Plus, it's a new year. I wonder if I should do something new with these. I have been thinking, what was that game that was very hot for a while? It's a video game where everybody's just kind of like you're like these avatars that run around. They have legs but no arms, and everybody's trying to figure out who the traitor is. It's in a space station, and whoever somebody gets airlocked or something like that. I forget what it's called. Among Us, maybe? Is that it? Yeah, Among Us. Thank you, Scott. I did notice back 2 years ago when I first set up those stream avatars, there was like a whole set of skins for Among Us avatars. And they're really cute because they run around with the little Among Us run animations, and they're customizable too. You can put hats on them and change their colors and stuff like that. And they're literally twice as tall as the little basic avatars. And I was thinking maybe I should turn those on at like a very high, if you've got like 10,000 coins or something like that you could buy that skin. So you'd really stand out amongst everybody. I've been thinking about doing that for a while, but I just never get around to it. Anyway, and I don't even know if anybody cares about Among Us anymore, do they? Although, of course, Among Us, perhaps it's going to get a big resurgence with Glass Onion, perhaps. Anyway, so, okay, folks, I've dilly-dallied long enough. Oh, by the way, folks, also, so we're about to do the countdown, and then at 2 o'clock, you're going to want to stick around, because we are going to be rating Ruel Gaviola. Did I bury the lead? This is not the R&R show, but it's the RT, the Rahdo then Ruel show, because at 2 o'clock, Ruel is going to be live streaming. We're going to rate him, and he is playing Star Trek Super Skill Pinball, the Trouble for Tribbles board. And that should be fun, because tribbles are hilarious, and that's a very good roll and write, and it's a bingo roll and write. So if there's anybody here who owns the game, you could play along with Ruel and see if you beat him. So that's what's happening at 2 o'clock. But first, I got to get what I came here to do done. So, let's get to this. Let me Oh, that just lodged some stuff. But you know that feeling? I feel like I dislodged half of it, but the other half is still there, and so I want to keep going, but it hurts, so I shouldn't. That feeling. That feeling when you only dislodge half the phlegm in your lungs. Okay. Okay, folks. Here we go. So, I will have just finished the contributors stuff, and then we'll be coming to this. So it's just switching to this button, right? And it'll say Universal Truth. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So let's get going, folks, starting with number 21 on the list, A Universal Truth, which is lovely. Don't get me wrong, even though this came in at the bottom of my list for the month, I still greatly esteem this game, which captures all the drawing room intrigue of a great Jane Austen novel in multi-use card form. In fact, this has got to be some of the coolest multi-use card play I've seen since the original Glory to Rome. Each player has their own character that they are trying to find love, making a perfect match, and the cards you have in your hand can be played for money to add to your dowry. They can be played for social connections to build up your network in Victorian England. They can be played for interests because you need to be a well-rounded person to fall in love with somebody. They can be played as the source of your affection. And finally, they can be gosh darn it. Shoot. We're going to start over, folks. Thank you for ever mentioning that. And I thought, oh, I'll just keep going and I'll hit F12. But I hit F12 when Chrome was running instead of, or on the foreground. So I will hit F12 there. And, all right, so we're going to do this again. So I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat myself. But hey, this happens a lot when I'm by myself. Alrighty, so let's get going again. Come back over here, back to the talking head. So let's get started with that countdown, folks. How about number 21? We talk a little bit about a universal truth. Now, do not get me wrong. Just because this came in at the top of my list doesn't mean this isn't a wonderful game. And it's basically got all the drawing room intrigue of a great Jane Austen novel in multi-use card form. In fact, very much like Glory to Rome. This game lets you use cards to, well, a card can represent you. You can play them to add more money to your dowry. You can play them to make more social connections in the elite of Victorian era London. You can play them to unlock special powers by becoming proficient in whisk or cricket or politics or poetry or all kinds of things. You can play them to target somebody who you would like to fall in love with you, which is your actual goal, and you can also play them to do affectionate acts for those people. Every one of your cards in this game can be used for multiple things. Plus, on top of that, every card has a cool special power in the middle that can be used. So, I don't think I've ever seen a game with as many cool special use combinatorial games. And then on top of that, it also features a very, very cool card drafting system to get these cards in your hand based on a rondelle, and I love rondelles. So, why does this come in at the bottom of my list instead of at the top? Because it's really good. The only problem is those special powers I was talking about, quite a few of them can be really aggressive. When I say, backroom intrigue, I'm talking real skullduggery stuff. And that was the thing that broke Jensen my heart. Now, the game comes with a lot of variants you can play. You can actually turn off most of the features and make this a game that you can play with anybody as like a nice gateway game. But I want to play it all with all the bells and whistles turned on. But unfortunately, that means turning on some really cutthroat elements that just didn't work for me and Jen. And it is for that reason that it comes in at the bottom. If those special powers weren't quite so cutthroat, this probably would have made my top 5 of the month because it's so wonderful and thematic and engaging. But as it is, it comes in at number 21 of the month, A Universal Truth. Then let's go to number 20, Rebuilding Seattle. And this one breaks my heart, folks. I was so excited for this for a few reasons. One, publisher WizKids has been on a tear. They got 2 of my top 10 games of 2022 were published by WizKids, which amazed me. And so I'm already super excited about anything they do. Plus, at first glance, this game, I should say, Seattle's my favorite city in the world. I love Seattle. I love a game devoted to polyomino tile laying to build it up. And basically, this game at first glance really gives what's it called? The Phil Walker Harding Barren Park vibe, because it is a polyomino game where you are grabbing tiles and trying to jigsaw puzzle them together. But to do that, you first have to lay the groundwork. So it's like a multi-level tile layer. You have to lay the groundwork first and then put the polyominoes on top of it. And it's all driven by an incredibly tight and very clever economic system too. So everything here is stuff I should love. And in fact, I loved all of this stuff. I love it takes the ideas of Barren Park where, as you cover up more and more things, you get those bonuses. Not so here. As you cover up those things like, forests and waterfront property, you lower the value of your borough of Seattle. So you've got these really, really tough choices as you are trying to do tile laying, to lay down your foundations, but then put your actual, restaurants, shopping centers, universities, train stations, all that kind of stuff on top of it. So the tile laying is fantastic. The economy game of trying to buy the cheapest stuff you can at the right time and play it is great. I love everything about this game except for these cards that are on screen right now. Because every round, if I recall correctly, the game plays over 3 eras, like 3 25-year, quarter of a centuries, right? Something like that. In every round, the round will end once all 6 of those cards have been activated. And on your turn, normally, you're going to spend money to buy a tile and start building stuff. right? But occasionally you say, hey, you know what, this turn, I'm not going to build anything. I'm going to activate one of these 6 cards. And when I get to do that, I get a nice big bonus and everybody else gets a small bonus. Now, that should be great. I love that in so many games. I thought I was going to love that here too. The problem is 3 of these cards, Activate Shopping, Activate Entertainment, and Activate Restaurant, turn out to be some of the most cutthroat moves I have ever seen in a game, because it is very difficult to make. I mean, it's a really cool system where you have idle population in Seattle, and so you're trying to get them engaged and score you renown points by making them restaurants, shopping, and entertainment. But you have to have more entertainment tiles laid than there are idle citizens. And so that's a very tough thing. You're trying to find ways to make the citizens not idle. You're trying to get these things up. And when you eventually do it, that's when you want to activate the entertainment event, because that means you can score and make some points. And that's what we're here to do. But the thing is, I could work incredibly hard getting my population not idle anymore, getting the entertainment up. And on my next turn, I'm going to activate that card. And it's going to be great. And I'm going to score points. And you look at that and you see that and say, oh yeah, I can't let you do that. And you activate the thing. You get a little measly 3 points as your bonus, or you get like, there's a couple other things. And and I do not get to activate because I just needed one more turn. If you can see that in one turn, I'll be able to do this and get a huge payday, it's child's play for you to say, oh yeah, the thing you've just spent the last 15 minutes working on, I'm just going to flip that card and just obliterate it. And maybe this isn't going to be a problem at higher player count games, because in a higher player count game, everything's not zero sum. Me losing 10 points is not the same as you gaining 10 points. Me making a move specifically to prevent you from achieving something puts both of us behind the other players. But in a 2-player game, Jen and I found we were constantly just like, boy, I hate having to do this to you, honey. I know how hard you worked for it, but I can't let you have it. I'm just going to destroy it. And that killed this game for me and Jen, which is heartbreaking because I love everything about this game. I love the theme. I love the publisher. I love the mechanisms. It's just those 3 cards, which over and over again, every era you get the opportunity again. It just became too cutthroat for us as a 2-player game. I would love to try it someday as a 4-player game where it wouldn't be quite so cutthroat. I suspect this would rank very, very high for me under those circumstances. But as a 2-player game, for a Care Bear player, sadly, Rebuilding Seattle comes in at number 20. Okay, let's continue on then to number 19, Time of Empires. And now, this one surprised the heck out of me. It's from Pearl Games, and it is a real-time civilization game along the lines of Through the Ages or Nations, where you are doing all the stuff. You're exploring, expanding, exploiting, and exterminating as you play through round after round with real historical people and events that will build up a civilization from antiquities to modern day. All the stuff you expect. We've seen it in a lot of games. What makes this one stand out? Real-time gameplay. And that shouldn't work, but it does, and it's brilliant. Through, what do you call them? Hourglass workers, this worker placement game where we are doing everything I just talked about and expanding, making new inventions, increasing our empire, playing area control games, invading each other's territories, tearing stuff down, competing on all kinds of fronts. I love this game. I love it for its ambition and its scope, and I love that it seems to pull off the impossible. Because, normally, real-time games have to be clean and simple and elegant to work. Whereas this game is clean and simple and elegant, and yet we end up doing really big, cool, complex stuff during the real-time portions of the game. And I really appreciate it. The only reason it comes in so low, not surprisingly, if you watch the rest of this roundup, is it does feature a healthy dollop of, oh, well, it'd be a real shame if that capital city of yours burned to the ground, wouldn't it? And, oh, you weren't paying attention, and boom, I moved in, and at the end of the time period, oh, you didn't have enough defenses, and I sack your capital, kind of stuff. It's interesting, this game probably comes closer to feeling like a real-time strategy war game like Warcraft or Command and Conquer than any other board game I've played, because in those games, if you're not paying attention, people can sneak up on you and take your stuff, and that can happen here because it's not stately and refined. Now, I should say, The game does come with turn-based rules, and those work really well. Also, I'm very impressed by them. But really, those are a way to teach the how to play the game before you start playing real time. Real time is where it's at. It's brilliant. And if this game came with a co-op variant, it would be in my top 5 easily. If it came with a variant where it said, hey, you know what? We're in different land masses, and we can just, every round, we can set aside a certain number of our troops to say, oh, I'm just going to send them overseas, and whoever sends the most overseas, there's a point skirmish, and we're not actually stealing and destroying and, tearing each other's sandcastles down. If there were a couple of ways this could have been a top 10 game of 2022 for me, easily, because the real-time mechanisms, the civilization building is very satisfying, really smartly done. Watch my run-through. Jen appears in the run-through if you ever want to see if she's a real person. You can see her right there in the little tiny picture-in-picture. But those are the things that keep it low on the list for me, unfortunately. Interestingly, when we did our Jen jogs, Jen also does monthly rankings of all the games. She ranked this really high. And it made me remember, oh, Jen loves Tigris and Euphrates too. Because Jen has always been a little bit more comfortable with attacking and destroying than I am. And so she ranked it high. I rank it high, except for the fact that it's just not a good fit for me. So, number 19, The Time of Empires. Okay, let's move on to number 18, Holly Jolly. Hey, folks, it's a new year. Happy New Year again. And it was Christmas time. Jen and I thought we'd play this very popular I've heard really good things about this little card drafting game set around a Christmas tree. And man, it works really well. It delivers from Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle. I mean, very accomplished designers in their own right. What's a good picture that shows the whole tree? There's a picture that shows the tree. All right. At its heart, this is a game where every turn you're going to grab one card from a display of 3. That card has a numeric value. You are going to use that numeric value in combination with the numeric values of the 3 cards at the heart of the tree to come up with a specific number. Like, I can't quite see, these are very small, but 2 plus 1 equals 3. Okay, so I combine this card with that card, that's a 3, and that lets me get this Santa card, this decoration that has a picture of Santa. I should make this picture a bit bigger so that would help see. And so this is how you draft cards. You grab one of these cards, combine them with the center cards to be able to get the decoration cards or the present cards under the tree. And there's all kinds of different set collection stuff, special powers on the different cards, and it's very sharp. There's a little bit of push your luck because, sometimes sometimes you know what the presents are, sometimes you don't, and there are some lumps of coal that might show up in there and all of that. Charming, cute, but ultimately very lightweight. This is designed for families to play together at Christmas time. And it works great for that. I don't think it's something that Jen and I would necessarily want to because it's a little bit too light for us. In the future, we'd probably go with Ugly Christmas Sweater. But we enjoyed our time, and it certainly felt very appropriate for the Yuletide spirit. Number 18, Holly Jolly. Okay. Then let's talk about number 17 on the list, My Little Everdell. Okay, so this comes in low because of what it is. Because it does what it sets out to do. It tries to take the rich, complex worker placement, tableau building, card combo gameplay of Everdell, one of the most popular, acclaimed, and successful games in recent years. It's gotten so many expansions, and the big box that just came out, the biggest big box of all time. Amazing. So it tries to capture all the feel of Everdell and scrunch it down into a game, for kids, the little ones. It's still a worker placement game, but the core worker placement is really simple. You send a worker out to get a twig or to get a card. You play the cards out there. There are 4 or 5 different types of cards. Ones that will give you special powers. Ones that will be our engine builders. Ones that give you in-game scoring opportunities. And it works. And quite frankly, I didn't expect that Jen and I would enjoy it at all, but we were really surprised. In spite of the fact that it's still probably a little bit more lightweight than we want, I would actually say this game is more complex than Ticket to Ride. And it's for that reason I don't quite understand. The box literally says it's for ages 6 and up. And if you go watch my final thoughts, I believe there's a version of this game that 6-year-olds could play. But there are certain cards you would have to take out because they're surprisingly complex. Over the course of this game, you're going to get a bunch of cards played. You might have 3 or 4 special powers you're juggling at any given time, and 2 unique in-game bonuses you're trying to chase after, and you're trying to do engine building as well. All this stuff can really pile up, and you can get a really complex game going on. And I think some of the cards are maybe a little bit too much. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't hang out with 6-year-olds. I haven't played games with 6-year-olds since I was 6 years old myself. So I might be getting it wrong, but it really felt to me like the game is beautiful. Absolutely wonderful to look at. Taking all the art of Everdell, which was already great from Tom Bosley, and making new versions of it where they're kid versions of all the characters and places and stuff. It's lovely. It's charming. And I would say it's about roughly the same depth level of a Ticket to Ride. And that surprised me. Still a little bit too light for me and Jen, but more going on than we thought. We enjoyed our time with it. Wasn't a keeper for us. And again, I would think it would work for 10-year-olds maybe 11-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 6-year-olds, I don't know. But I do not know about childhood cognitive development. So maybe I'm totally misguided. I'm sure that pretty much everybody covered this. So you can look at a few other channels. But at the end of the day, it comes in at number 17 for us because it is still a little bit too light, but oh my gosh, so charming, so beautiful. Really enjoyed our time with it. Okay, then let's move on to number 16, Spacecraft. Now, this is a cool little game, all about, there's 2 halves to the game. Most turns, you have a token, and you are moving around a 4x4, although I think it gets bigger at a higher player count, of 5x5 grid of stacks of junk in a junkyard. And on your turn, you can move a certain number of steps and orthogonally, and wherever you land, you grab one of these pieces of junk. And the pieces of junk have different art, and they also have different weights. You put that junk in your trunk, in your wheelbarrow, and you can only carry so much weight. So eventually, I mean, you're running around trying to get the ideal things you need, but dealing with weight restrictions. Maybe you can't afford to get 2 of the things you want because that would overweigh your barrel, and you'll have to make multiple trips. Because eventually, you're like, okay, I can't carry any more stuff around. I'm going to leave the junkyard. When you leave the junkyard, you have the opportunity to convert all the scraps you picked up and turn them into rocket parts. And the interesting thing is, the different types of scraps you have bought give you access to different columns. So if I've got some duct tape, that means, hey, if I use duct tape plus whatever else I grabbed, I could get stuff out of the duct tape column of things, where there's fuselages and booster rockets, because we're trying to make rockets to go to the moon, of course. And the interesting thing is, when you're basically doing all of this, the set collection, all this tile drafting through this cool little mini game, you're trying to plan for, right, okay, when I come out, I can only get 2 pieces at the most, and you're trying to build your rocket as fast as you can to try to hit certain public goals that everybody is chasing after. And then after you've done that, you've converted your junk. Maybe you don't use all, you save some junk for later, and then you go back in the junkyard, you try to collect more stuff. It's a good, solid little game. Another one I think would be great for families. Pretty easy to teach how to play the game. I think this is going to be better for 6-year-olds than my little Everdell when it boils right down to it. Charming. The rockets you end up building are really quirky and odd shaped, and just fun. There's a sense of fun and whimsy about everything in this game, and we enjoyed it, but it's a little bit too lightweight for us. Although there's an interesting twist to it. The game has 2 different variants you can play that have to do with the different types of objective cards you're chasing. The advanced version of the game is whenever you come out of the junkyard and you start buying, turning your scrap into pieces, you can also lay claim in kind of a little area control game to the different scoring opportunities. And so the more somebody says, hey, I'm really going to try and score a lot of points on the getting red pieces for my ship. There's an interesting thing where you can push your luck too much, because if I've got a lot of red pieces for my ship and I have put a couple of things on there, the more times somebody activates one of these bonus point things, the more valuable it gets, until it's activated too many times, and then all of a sudden those particular pieces become not worthless, but suddenly their drop in value significantly. So there's this really delicate balancing act. If somebody can see I'm getting a lot of red pieces, I don't want to tip my hat. I don't want to rush right out and make the red really valuable, because then it's just going to be very easy for somebody else to say, oh, they'll tank it because they don't have a lot of red and they don't want me to get all those points. So there's a really interesting kind of, how long can you afford to wait before you make your move thing? So that's the advanced way, but to me, that was a simple way to play. The more complex way to play is instead there's a big collection of, hey, build with this combination of parts or that combination of parts, and there's like a constant flow of we're racing to complete individual mini objectives. And honestly, I think I like that one more, and I don't understand why they said that's the easier one, when in fact, it seemed like it was the more complex one to play. But either way, whichever one you play with, I still think this is a good gateway-style game if that's what you're looking for. It's not what we're looking for, which is why it comes in at number 16, Spacecraft. Okay, now let's move on to number 15, Dice Conquest. Now, this is a fast-playing, cooperative, dice-chucking fantasy monster battler, and it works really well. Jen and I enjoyed our time with it. Every time you play, you have a unique player with special powers that say, hey, if I activate 6s, I get to do this. If I activate things, odd numbers, I get to do that, whatever. And as you beat monsters, we take them and tuck them under our character cards to reveal that we have access to more and more special powers that we can start manipulating, which means we have different ways that we want to draft dice to activate them, to activate our special powers, to fight more monsters. Because every round, more monsters keep coming out until we get to the final big super boss monster. We're trying to level up as fast as we can to beat them. The interesting thing about the game is it comes with a full set of D&D style dice, a D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, and a D20. I believe that's it. I believe it comes with 7 dice, a full set of them. And every round we roll all those dice. And then we just take turns grabbing them. And so I might be in a desperate strait. On my turn, I need to grab a 3 to put it on this monster because we can only put odd numbers and we can't put numbers over 7. So I need a 3 or a 5. That's the only thing I put here. And if we can put that on there, we beat this monster. Here's the problem. We just rolled. We got a 3. It was on our D20. That is such a huge waste of a D20 because that D20 could do 20 points of damage or 15 points of damage if we re-roll it and hit it somewhere else. But we need that 3 right now. Are we going to waste that D3 to put it on this monster and finish it and unlock that special power? Maybe, but then we're not going to get that D20 back until next round, and we might be in real trouble down the road because obviously there's special powers about re-rolling and setting dice and all the kinds of stuff you would expect. It's really clever. We were really surprised. We really liked it quite a bit. We had a fun time. It was nice and challenging, not too challenging, but a good fun time. Really simple. A great restaurant game is what my wife said. She could totally see, because it is just literally a deck of cards, 7 dice, and each player has a card that is a little life hit point tracker for each player. Yeah, we liked it. I would, if this game ever got an expansion, I would love to come back to it because I'd love to see some more complex stuff. Because the stuff that's there is nice, but it's fairly simple and straightforward, which makes the whole game, again, it's a gateway style game. Honestly, I think the reason this exists is to sell sets. The dice were beautiful. They were absolutely gorgeous looking, lovely marbled dice. I think it's to sell these sets of D&D sets of dice to encourage people to try to play D&D dice more. And it's just happened to have a fun game with it too. A little bit lightweight for me and Jen to keep playing over and over again. I know it's a real repeating concept, but we did really enjoy it. I'd happily play it again. Not necessarily keep it for us, but I want to keep an eye on this. If there's ever an expansion that adds some more stuff, I could see wanting to come back to number 15, Dice Conquest. Or if I had friends who love fantasy stuff and just wanted to play a fun, fast little game, really good stuff. Okay, let's move on to number 14 now. Dominion Allies. Okay, which I was certainly excited to try. I have not played a new expansion of Dominion since... Was the last one Menagerie? I think so. I think that's right. And I really loved Menagerie. Menagerie is probably one of my favorite expansions of all time. And I was certainly excited going in. Let's see, what kind of pictures of stuff do we have to show here? Hey, there's a bunch of cards. That'll do. It's a bunch of cards, although they're very tiny. Oh, there they go. Okay. Oh, or they're in a foreign language, but that's okay. It's Dominion, folks. There's a bunch of cards. I think 30 or so new types of cards. So... I'm not going to explain how Dominion works. I assume everybody knows. People just want to know, okay, what does Allies do new? They do a few things. The most important one is the allies themselves, and it's my favorite thing about the expansion. Every time you play, you grab a different random ally from, I think there's like 12 or 14 different allies. It's a common resource for everybody, and you use Dominion coins to keep track of favors. Everybody starts with a certain number of favors. Anytime you want on your turn, you can spend those coins to activate this universal action that affects everybody. And they're all cool Dominion-style actions that are very powerful and can really change up the feel of the game in meaningful ways. And in addition to that, several of the new cards that you can buy in the market will allow you to accumulate more of these favor coins that you could then use to activate the allies. That's the core thing. It is great. I loved everything about it. We played a couple different games, tried a few different, I looked at a bunch of allies. Seems that's really awesome. They were right to put that on the box cover. It's the coolest thing about it. Next cool thing is, I forget, I think there were 3 or 4 market decks that, this isn't the first time we've seen this where, hey, you know what? All the cards in this particular stack aren't the same. As you buy more cards, you get to more expensive, more powerful ones deeper in the deck. We've seen this before, but this game really tweaks it up a bit, because for every one of those cards that belongs, I mean, there's a deck for villagers where you start out, oh, it's a peasant, and then it's a merchant, and then it's the sheriff, and then it's the, I forget what, and there's like one for war. It starts with a fort, and then it becomes a cannon, and then it becomes, so you can, the more of them you buy, or all players buy, the more they level up. But the thing is, every one of these cards has an, I forget what the word is, a rotate or update function, that when you use these cards, you can pick those stacks and say, hey, you know what? All the current level 1s, bury them at the bottom. I want to go straight to the level 2s. And then the next time I play, I want to go straight to the level 3s. So you don't have to wait and dig all the way through them. You can get to those more powerful things very quickly. Now, this is cool. It creates a more dynamic and constantly changing market than we've ever seen in Dominion, quite frankly, and that's a neat idea. I liked it in theory. In practice, it could be kind of frustrating, though, because, man, I'm finally to the point. Yes, I'm finally to the point where I'm going to be able to buy that card. I got the cards. I just got to wait for my turn to come around. And then on your turn, you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to modify that deck. And the card I wanted to buy just disappeared. And now it's a different card that I don't want or I can't buy. And that's never happened in Dominion. Or at least not, maybe there's some special effect that says, oh yeah, you want to buy that thing. I removed it from the game and replaced it with something else. And it happens a lot. And honestly, my least favorite thing about Allies is this feels like the most aggressive and cutthroat expansion since going all the way back to Intrigue. Because there are several just straight out attacky attack cards like Barbarians and stuff like that. It seems like there's a higher percentage of attack cards than we've seen in other recent expansions. And then this really cool idea can be used inadvertently to where you could really mess up your opponent without even realizing it. So it's kind of, I mean, that's cool. But it can be frustrating, and my wife found that very frustrating. And then the other thing is there's a whole bunch of new cards, new ongoing effect cards and all of that, new treasure cards, and a lot of them focus on choice. Do this or this or this or this or this or this. It really felt like sometimes we were overloaded with choices in this game. Really, we could do this or that or the other, and I've got 3 of those? Yeah! I don't think Jen has ever come closer to melting down than when playing with the more choices preset, which was the first time we played it. And so they were all fine, but a little of that goes a long way. So at the end of the day, Dominion Allies comes in at number 14. It's a keeper, but mostly it's for the allies. I love the allies. I kind of love the multi-tier stacks. Those are neat. But the mainline cards, there weren't really many that say, oh wow, I love these main cards too. So overall, it was pretty nice. I enjoyed it. Not my favorite by a long shot, Dominion Allies. Okay, then let's move on to number 13. Monolith. Now this is a game just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think there'd been any real advance notice about it. Cool mini or not, just started sending out to reviewers. I got a copy of it, and we sat down and played it. And from designer Phil Walker Harding, and it's very nice. But I mean, geez, They've done nothing to try to promote this game. Look, there are no decent pictures of it on Board Game Geek. Just a few fan-made pictures. Let me go on ahead and show one that kind of shows stuff. Okay, so there's a picture of the game. Thanks to Eric Martin. Apparently Eric has a very beat up table he plays on. Anyway, I would have loved to seen some more fancy pictures I could show of the game, but this will get the job done. This is a polyomino game, but it is a three-dimensional polyomino game because the polyomino pieces that come in all kinds of shapes that seem very, very similar to traditional Tetris fans can be stacked upwards in addition to spread out left and right. And in fact, we are building on very, very tiny little 4x4 grids. So ultimately, the game is over once one player has created a perfect cube by laying all these things down, but also building upwards. And it's sharp. The presentation of the game is lovely. All the polyomino pieces, I don't know if you can quite tell in this picture, are there any ones that show it a little bit better? Have these wonderful little etched runes on them that look really, really nice. And there's a million... The interesting thing about the game is, this is not the first time we've seen polyomino games. This is not the first time we've seen stackable 3D cube-making polyomino games. But what's really interesting about this game is you have the opportunity to grab these score chits that are on this central board. And as soon as you grab one, you install it on one of the four sides of your little player board. And what that means is, at the end of the game, you will score that many points if that side of your final cube does whatever needs to be done. Based on what you chose, and I think that's cool. What is it? It's in this picture right here, somebody put a 14. That means they are going to have 14 of one color on that side of the cube before it's done. And you can see on the other side they've tried to put an 11. They're trying to put 14 of one color, 11 of another color on the other side, and that's a really cool puzzle. Very fun. And here's the deal, Jen loved this game. And I thought it was very cool too. My only problem with it is the reason it comes in so high at 13 is because it's a pure abstract game, and really at the end of the day I'd rather be playing thematic Euros. But if I loved abstracts more, this would be a top 10 of the month. It'd be a top 5 even, because Phil Walker Harding, he does great tile laying games. He's Mr. Barron Park. And, taking it into 3 dimensions, but with this really cool push your luck, because you want to grab those tokens as fast as you can so you can get the big points. But then you've got to commit. And, trying to make sure you've got the right number of colors on each side is mucho challenging and very, very fun and puzzly. So if you like abstract games, or if you just like really wonderful productions of three-dimensional, if you want to build a Rubik's Cube out of Tetris pieces that looks lovely and is very puzzly, you might want to check out number 13 of the month, Monolith. Okay. Then let's go on to number 12 of the month, Wayfarers of the South Tigris. And I suspect this is the one that's going to give me the most grief online. People are going, what? Why isn't this here in your top 3? It's fantastic. Folks, it is fantastic. It's the latest from Sam McDonald and Shem Phillips of Garp Hill Games. It's the beginning of the new trilogy after we had the North Seas trilogy and the West Kingdoms trilogy. Now we're going to have the South Tigris trilogy. And like most of all the games that have come before, it is super sharp, a wonderful, fun collections of Euro mechanisms that really makes you, approach things in new and different ways. I love so many things about this game. I love the shared worker pool where we're constantly, through our actions, creating opportunities for other people to get workers that we give up. I love the fact that there are dice worker placement in this game too, but we can reprogram die faces to have different special powers. I love the race for bonus points I love almost everything about this game. In fact, this game could have been, honestly, my game of the month, and it could have made my top 10 games of the year, except for one thing. One of the elements we have in this game, this game overflows with opportunities to trigger all kinds of really cool combo actions where you get all these little baby bonuses that you can use in different ways to set yourself up for future combos. One of the baby bonuses is you can deploy your little influence tokens, which are these little asterisk-looking tokens. Now, the main use for them is to deploy them on the guilds, because then that means we can use the guilds to activate special powers when we need them, to manipulate dice and do stuff. Or there's also an area control thing for having your influence on the guilds. That's all great. Love it. But you will also put your in situations sometimes where you can put them on the cards. And this is a card drafting game where if you can identify a card I am desperate to grab because I need it for my engine that I'm building. It's the perfect one. I've waited half the game to get it. And you get the opportunity to put your influence token out. You put that on the card I want. And what that means now is if I want to get that card now has a tax on it, and I have to pay taxes to you. I have to pay everything I had to, and these cards are expensive. They're already hard to get, and now you've made it just a little bit harder just to bleed me. And the thing is, this little bonus is one of the most common bonuses you will see in the game. It just keeps coming up over and over and over again. And every time we got this, we'd have to, oh wait, let me try and figure out what hurts you the most. What do you want the worst? What do you want so bad? Oh, I think you want that one. Okay, I'll put it there. And you're like, ugh. Okay, fine. Great. There's nothing fun about this. It totally breaks the flow of the game. Jen and I got to the point where we would say, I've got another one of these. Could you just tell me what you want so I don't have to spend 3 minutes figuring it out? And Jen would say, oh, it's this one. Okay, boom, there. You now have to pay me a coin when you want to get that thing. And I hated this so much. It serves no purpose. It slows down the game. It's, just spiteful taxation of your opponents for no good reason. It just is completely inconsistent with any other element of the game. And the game already shows, hey, there's really cool things we can do with this that are fun and interesting and engaging. Or there's these dick moves that we can do with them that just keep coming up over and over again. And that killed the game for me. It breaks my heart because if it weren't for that one decision, and it would be so easy to house rule. I posted about this in my final thoughts, and people said, well, you could do this or this or this or this. Yeah, I could. Or the designers could because, hey, you know what? I'll just go and play a game where I'm not constantly asked to evaluate how can I hurt my wife the most because that's fun for some reason. I don't understand why that influence taxation of other players is there. If it weren't for that, this would have made my top 10 games of the year. But as it is, it comes in at number 12 on the list. The Wayfarer South Talkers. And again, folks, I have to remember, I'm a super Care Bear. Most people think it's not that big a deal. And they're probably right. I may be too overly sensitive to it, but for me, it was a game killer for Wayfarers. Okay, let's go on to number 11 on the list, Lacrimosa, which is a brilliant game all about the after the death of Mozart. Sorry, just a second. My throat is quite dry. I'm still sick. Excuse me. Thank you. That helps. My honey water from my honey is still warm. Let me get one more sip of that, actually. Okay. So, Lacrimosa is all about, after the death of Mozart, he had his great Lacrimosa, one of his requiems, unfinished. And so we are his former patrons who are trying to hire the best composers to finish it, to finish our friends' work, but also to increase our own glory, of course, because that's what we do in Euros. We chase glory. Fortune glory, kid, in the form of economic machinations. That's Euros. Anyway, though. So there's an interesting twist to this, though, because the widow of Mozart is trying to write a memoir. And so we are splitting our time between investing in current day composers to do kind of this weird proxy battle area control on 1/3 of the board that represents the sheet music of the Lacrimosa, which is a really interesting area control game, really unusual, where we're kind of investing in the composers who maybe will become the leads, and therefore we score points off of them. Kind of like almost a stock dividend kind of thing. So we're trying to do that in the present, but we're also meeting with the widow and playing cards to share with her memories of Mozart, of, hey, that time that I sponsored him traveling to Vienna, or that time that I bought his concerto and I put it on or whatever. Because the theme of this game is every time you play a card, well, interestingly, you have a hand of cards. Every turn you're going to play 2 cards. One, you activate the top action. The other, you activate the bottom action. Now, the bottom action is always gather a resource you'll use in the next round, so it's future planning. The top action is, what am I going to do right now? And those actions are get more cards to upgrade your deck and get more powerful actions later on with more variety and flexibility. Or move the Mozart token around the board to visit different cities and get bonuses there, or do the thing I was just talking about in the present now instead of in the past. Work with composers to try to finish the unfinished work. And so every turn you're going to play one of these cards. You're only going to play a few cards over the course of the game. You get a lot done in a very short time in terms of the number of actions you do. And it's a brilliant design. This is not the first time, nor the only time in 2022 we saw a really great Euro where, hey, I play the top action of one card and the bottom action of another card. Of course, that's been a real mainstay ever since Gloomhaven did it a few years ago, right? And it works wonderfully here. I love the mechanisms of this game. Even the area control game, which is usually kind of a turnoff, it's such a weird, interesting proxy battle instead of a straight up battle. I found that engaging as well. My only complaint, the thing that keeps this out of my top 5, is the theme. And this is something I think the vast majority of people won't care about. But I am a Euro theme aficionado, and I want my theme to work, and the theme doesn't work here. Because you can literally earn money in the present by working with the composers, and then spend that money 20 years ago to sponsor Mozart moving from one place to another. And I guess you could say, oh, this is just an abstraction of how the super rich are so disconnected from their fortunes that money is meaningless. I guess, but for me, it was a real disconnect. I love the theme of, revisiting our memories and, and using that to help the widow while also focusing on, but to me, the theme and the mechanisms really clashed and really kind of took me out of it. I can say my wife didn't care about that at all, and I think most people won't care about it. So if you're like, oh, theme is nice just to set the stage, but I don't really care that much about it once the Euro economic machinations get going, then you're going to love it. You're probably going to love it. But for me, I continue to care about theme, and I was a little let down by how it didn't really quite gel, which is why Lacrimosa comes in for me at number 11. Okay, now let's move on to number 10. Holiday Hijinks. Episode 1, The Kringle Caper. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you much of anything. Are there any pictures here on Board Game Geek? Oh, it shows a few of the different holiday hijinks you can get. Here's what happens when you open the Kringle Caper. This is a micro game. You open it up. There are 18 cards. This is an escape room. The story is Santa has returned to the North Pole after he brought back cookies. And one of the cookies has been stolen. And we are elves trying to crack the case of who stole Santa's cookie. And so you're going to play through 18 cards of escape room style puzzly stuff. And it's really nicely done. Now, I should say it's definitely on the lower end, simpler, easier scale escape room stuff, which is maybe why Jen and I really enjoyed it. At no point did this game ever make us feel stupid and like, oh, why can't we do it? And the interesting thing is, I should say, for people who don't like this game requires you use an app. Because once you think you've figured out a particular puzzle, I'm not going to tell you all the puzzles, but there's all kinds of escape room type puzzles. There are some I've seen before, some that were interesting twists, some I hadn't seen, but they were all well implemented, all fun and engaging. Again, a little bit on the easy side, good for a group, for a family. But the thing is, once you've figured out a given card, what you have to do is you have to go to the app and type in the word that would be the answer. One of the first ones requires you to know all the names of the reindeer. And one of the reindeer, you have to type their name in, and if you type the correct one in, you will, it'll say, hey, draw card 4 now, right? I'm not going to tell you what the puzzle is to figure out, whether it was Dasher or Donner or Blitzen or whatever, but you had to figure that out. And so you have to have a smartphone to be able to play it. But if you have that, it gives you an hour-long timer. Jen and I finished it. I think we finished it in like 38 minutes, and we felt pretty good. We only had to use one clue, and as soon as we were like, oh, of course. Oh, that was a smart one. You got us, game. We had a good time. It was the perfect Christmas Day caper. At the end of the day, Jen and I think we're both kind of over escape rooms, but we have the full set. And after we played that, just said, okay, well, we're going to play the Valentine's Day one on Valentine's Day. My birthday's coming up. We're going to play the birthday one on that day. There's a 4th of July one. There's several of them. And it's lovely. It's charming. It's very nicely done. And it comes in at number 10 as a one-time play, and then you give it away as a gift. Makes a perfect Christmas gift. Number 10, Holiday Hijinks. Number 1, The Kringle Caper. Okay, then let's move on to number 9 on the list. Ballada, which is bards recording epic heroes' journeys. This is a very sharp roll and write. I liked it quite a bit. It's not a roll and write, it's a flip and fill, because every round there are 3 decks. You draw a card from each of them. One of the decks tells you a landscape, whether it is mountains or forests or deserts. And the other 2 cards say, hey, what will you draw into the mountain or the forest or the desert? So you might say, oh, well, hey, a key and a monster and mountain shows up. So that means I've got to pick on my little sheet of paper that represents the hero's journey that I'm going to write an epic ballad about. On one of the mountains, I have to write either the monster or the sword. And after I do that, I know, well, hey, I've got 2 more mountains, and so who knows what we're going to come up then. Everybody makes this same choice. It's a bingo style game. Everybody looks at that. Everybody makes their choice as best they can, and then we draw 3 more cards, and oh, now it's a desert, and it could be a princess and a key, and it's going to go in a desert. So of my remaining deserts, am I going to put a princess or a key there? Very simple, very easy to teach, but surprisingly crunchy. I was really impressed by this one. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be very interesting, but I found it incredibly engaging from start to finish. It's 2 halves. You start off with the first half, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that, once you fill all the spaces in, you will then tell the story of your hero. Oh, my hero started out by finding a key and a sword. Then they fought a lowly level 1 monster. Now, that's a huge waste of a sword. Yeah, because a sword could take out a level 5 monster. So you have to decide, am I going to save the sword or am I going to use it to beat the monster? If I don't use it, then the hero will take damage. But don't worry, because I'll let the hero came to a monster but ran because he didn't, and then came to a level 3 monster and ran some more because he wasn't quite ready. And then he did some more training and eventually found a fountain. So if I ran away from monsters and I took like 4 damage in that example, when I get to the fountain, I get to heal. And for all the healing I do, I get points. The same as if I'd wasted my sword to kill the monsters. So that's just a fun little example of, okay, depending on where I put my swords, depending on where I put my monsters, depending on where I put my fountains, depending on where I put my treasure chest, my princess, my dragon, and all the various things that we're going to place here, ultimately, and again, you can make plans. Okay, I'm going to put this sword here because I'm going to put it right because ultimately I want to put the boss right there because I need 2 swords to beat a boss, and I'll have this other sword, but then what if the boss can't be in that mountain, or when the boss eventually shows up, oh, you got to put a boss in a desert. Okay, I'll put a boss in the desert because I still have the chance of putting a warp in the mountain. And if I put the warp in the mountain, then I could warp the boss to the mountain so it would work perfectly as I'd planned it out. So every step of the way, you're making informed guesses about that may or may not work depending on what the cards will give you. The art of this game is lovely. The decisions are engaging and interesting. You actually play through 2 sides of the piece of paper. First, there's the daytime, and then there's the nighttime. And the damage you've taken carries over, and the sword you've earned carries over. And there's a bit more complexity. Keys can be used for different things. Swords can be used for different things. And I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. Jen thought it was okay. She thought it was a little bit too simple. And it's funny, too. Jen kind of got the impression I think is wrong. They said, well, it just seemed like all the choices were really obvious. And yet, so I just did the best I could with the choices that I made. And I'm like, well, so did I. That's what you do in every game. And the thing is, the choices were obvious. You and I did radically different things, and I won. So the choices weren't obvious because I made better choices than you because I won. And to me, it was very satisfying. Jen, I don't know why. She just couldn't quite see it. But to me, it was a nice, fun, thematic little thing. Definitely a filler. Takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes once you've got the gist of it. And just fun, a series of kind of tension-filled, well, okay, I can go for this. Oh, please, when that boss comes up, it's got to be desert. It's got to be desert. Yes! Okay, this is going to be an awesome ballad I'm about to sing in Ballada, which comes in at number 9 on the list. Okay, then let's talk about number 8. Delicious. Now, this is a roll and write from Pencil First Game, Eduardo Baraf and Steve Finn. This is a group of people that I absolutely adore. I'm always happy to see what they're coming up with next. And this was a very, very sharp Again, not a roll and write because there's no dice. Instead, every round, 2 cards are going to be drawn from 2 different decks, the upper and the lower deck. And what happens is every player looks at these 2 cards, and each cards are going to have random, the cards represent vegetables, and random chips are drawn out of a bag that represent tools or fruits. And so, this is an entwined drafting game. Do I want the carrots and berries on the top, or do I want the broccoli and spade on the bottom? I've got to pick one. And then once I make that choice, and everybody makes that choice, I am then going to fill up my board. If I took something from the top, I have to put the carrots in my top containers, or on my bottom containers from the bottom. If I end up getting berries or fruits, I have to put them in the special fruit thing that works very different than all the vegetable stuff. If I do tools, I can put them anywhere, but I'm restricted to where the tools are. So, this is a game where you are trying to fill a bathtub and boots and a wheelbarrow and a suitcase and an actual planter box full of seeds to grow the best. And each one of these different things fills a different way. One of them, they all have to be the same. The other one has to be unique pairs. One of them, everything has to be unique. It's simple, it's clean, it's elegant, it's fast, and it is fun. I like this one quite a bit. Jen thought it was a little bit too lightweight for her. She's kind of gotten more into the habit of these more big, crunchy roll and writes that we've been seeing more and more of these days. But for me, oh man, this is such a wonderful, charming, relaxing, easy, laid back, simple to teach, fun to play, entwined drafting, flip and fill. And I liked it quite a bit. Number 8 on the list is delicious. Then let's go on to number 7, Exhibition, the 20th Century. From Corné van Morsel. Oh man, I was going to look up how to pronounce your name. I always say Corn. I know that's wrong. I think it's Corné. I ran out of time because I'm actually running out of time, folks. I got to speed up. But anyway, regardless, from a designer, publisher Koala Games, he's got a couple of co-designers. Jen, I like this one a lot. At its heart, this is a very simple, straightforward card drafting game. Where is an image showing the board set up? Right, there we go. There we go. That'll do. Alrighty. So, there is a grid of cards that represent every year of the 20th century from 1900 to 1999. And they are put in a 3x5 grid, and at the top of each column, there are world locations for the different continents of the world, Asia, Africa, Europe, etc., etc. And on your turn, you have a blimp or a car or whatever, you have a little meeple, whatever column you're in, you pick one of the cards from that column, whatever region, whatever color that column is associated with, you then move to that column. That will be where you take your next card next turn. But in the meantime, whatever card you took, you then have to add to your little exhibition. And the exhibitions has rules. Everything has to be in ascending order. Once you put like a 1924, you can't put 1925 to the left of it, even if you want to. And there's other rules. One of the exhibitions has to be all on the same continent. One of the exhibitions, they have to be like there can't be more than 10 years between them, stuff like that. And it is fun, it is puzzly, and every one of these cards is a real-world invention that happened in that particular nation and that particular year, and I love it. I mean, Jen and I were having as much fun playing the game as we were just reading the origin of all kinds of inventions that we just take for granted in our day-to-day lives. And it is sharp. Now, inevitably, there will come points where, I'm going to take a card that I can't play anywhere, or I don't want to play because it'll mess up what I'm actually trying to build in this particular exhibit. So up to 3 times you can put cards off into storage, which is just going to lose you points, but you will do that. And we are racing to fill things in while following all the cool, puzzly, restrictive rules for like ascending rules and matches and all kinds of stuff. It is great. It makes history come alive. It is a fun, elegant, smart design, and both Jen and I enjoyed it quite a bit. We are definitely getting into some of the most fun games we played this month, and Exhibition 20th Century definitely ranks pretty high at number 7. Liked it a lot. Okay, then let's go on to number 6, Mosterio. Okay, this is from Pythagoras and from the design duo of Rolla and Costa. The roller coaster, I like to call them. I don't think anybody else calls them that. And this is a game where we are competing to contribute the most to building a great, wonderful, real-world basilica, I believe, in Portugal, if I recall correctly. And we're doing it by harvesting resources, calling upon the favors of rich nobles, and basically fulfilling resources to score points by building up the basilica. All standard stuff, pretty straightforward stuff. What's interesting about the game is we do it through dice, because every round we roll our dice and we take turns worker placing them. And this game reminds me a lot of a game I played many, many years ago called Alea Octa Est. One of the ways you could use dice worker placement in Alea Octa Est was that, hey, if you put a 6 down and then I go to the same area as you and I put a 3, I push your 6 to the right to make room for my 3. But then if somebody else puts a 6, they go to the right of my 6. So the lower the value and the weaker the die is, the quicker you get to go, and you push the bigger, more powerful dice further on. And now this takes that idea and makes it work really interestingly in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I recall, different worker placement spots on the board where they all take that idea but do interesting stuff with them as we gather the resources to try to help build the local town, build the basilica, gather all the resources we need, get the special set collection decorations we can do, gather, the wood and all of that, and it works great. You have small dice and big dice that represent, regular workers who have to follow the rules, and the big dice can break the rules. Over the course of the game, you get more big dice, but then you start losing them. So there's a really interesting overall flow to the game. You can sacrifice points to manipulate the dice as you need. It works great, and it's just really sharp. Now, I loved the dice worker placement. This kind of reminds me of last year's Tealetum, a game that had a really wonderful and deep and really fresh, modern feeling core action selection mechanism, the dice pushing and bumping and all the stuff that we do, to drive a more traditional, hey, gather goods to fulfill recipes to score points. The second half of the game was okay. The first half of the game was amazing, and on the whole, both Jen and I very much enjoyed number 6, Mysterio. Okay. Now, let's talk about number 5, the most far-out game we played this month, Precognition, which is set in a post-apocalypse future where humanity has been all but wiped out, although some members of humanity have mutated into super intelligent protectors of the regular humanity. And what we're trying to do is sail down a river to reach a safe haven where we can start rebuilding. And that's the theme, but honestly, this is a very abstract game. Strictly speaking, you're trying to collect little meeples that represent people. They're sick, you have to heal them, or they are in danger and you have to protect them as we sail further and further down the river and deal with different obstacles along the way. But the whole thing that drives this game is cards. Because every turn you have access to 4 cards, 2 of them in your hand and 2 of them face up in front of you. Of the 2 face up in front of you, 1 you will play for yourself and 1 you will give to your opponent. And the same is true for the 2 cards in your hand. So you've got all these 4 cards. Of the 4 cards, you're going to play 1 of them. You're going to make your opponent to your left play 1 of them. And then you're going to give the other 2 cards that didn't get mixed up into all this to the opponent to your right. And then everybody reveals all the cards they chose. Hey, this is a card that my opponent gave me. This is the card I played. And now here's the deal. Because I know you have to give me one of those face-up cards, right? You're to my right. You're going to give me one of those cards. I can see, oh, there's a blue and a yellow. I've got a yellow. If you give me that yellow and I play this yellow, if I get a matching pair, I'll get double the resources out of this. So, do I think you're going to give me that yellow, or are you going to give me that blue? If you give me that blue, how's that going to combo with these 2 cards? You give me the yellow, okay, I'm going to take a chance. Because the other thing is, I think, oh yeah, you get bonus points if you hand out yellows. And so I know you are incentivized to give me the yellow, so I think that yellow is going to happen. I predict that's what you're going to do. I'm going to use some precognition. I'll play the yellow. I find out what you gave me the yellow. Boom, I have a huge turn. And the game is full to the brim of look to the neighbor to the left, look to the neighbor to the right, see what all their objectives are, what they get bonuses for, see what they're trying to collect for themselves, and start making plans. What am I going to give to them? What are they going to give to me? Because the other thing is, remember, 2 of those cards I'm going to give to the player to my right, those will become the face-up cards. The player to my right is going to have to give me one of those next turn. So if I'm thinking next turn, hey, if I give him these 2 greens, that means next turn he'll be forced to give me a green. And if I can get a green next turn, yes. So this game has layer upon layer of really hardcore planning, and I thought it was mind expanding in the best way, and I loved it. My wife liked it, but this game, more than any other game I can think of in recent years, so forced us to pay attention to each other. And Jen tends not to do that. Jen just likes to focus on her own little garden and just do stuff. For her, it was a bit too much trying to double think what your opponent is going to do. But me, I love that kind of stuff. So for me, it ranks very high. For Jen, a little bit less. And combined, it comes in at number 5, Precognition. Okay, then let's go on to number 4, The Skulls of Sedlick, which is a game from Button Shy. And honestly, just the base game of Skulls of Sedlick would not have rated that high for me. It would not have made it into the top 4 space. But Jen and I played it with all the expansions turned on, and oh my goodness, it became a wonderful game of card drafting and pyramid building. On your turn, you're either going to draft a card that has 2 skulls that represent different members of society, or you're going to play a card into your growing pyramid, and you're trying to get certain types of skulls next to others. You want nobles to be above the peasants. You want merchants to be next to the peasants. You want pirates to be away from the merchants. All kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of rules, and when you play with all the expansions, it becomes a fiendishly engaging and fun puzzle, trying to draft with really strict rules and then trying to build on top of your tower. We liked this one a lot, and we think it's a total keeper if you get the additional expansions. With the base game, we thought it was a little bit too simple, very gateway. The rules weren't really engaging enough to keep our attention. But once you turn on all the other stuff, oh man, Skulls of Sedlick gets very, very special. And the whole game fits in a tiny little wallet, which is Button Shy's MO, which is why that comes in at number 4 of the month, Skulls of Sedlick, with all the expansions turned on. Alrighty, let's move on to number 3, Simplicity. Wow, this really surprised me. This made my top 10 hidden gems of 2022. Both Jen and I are super impressed by it. It is at its heart a very fast-playing SimCity meets King Domino style game. Every turn, you are going to place your worker to grab a tile. The further down the row, the more flexibility you get, the more powerful your move, but the more likely you will be last in turn order in the next round. Very King Domino. Works there, works here. Then you take the tile and you look at the symbol that was next to the tile, and that tells you where you can place the tile on the main board. And what you're trying to do is you're either trying to get pairs of your own buildings next to each other, or you're trying to join growing collections of the same type of building, whether they're your buildings or somebody else. And the thing is, you get 5 turns in this game. It's the ultimate filler. You get to make 5 choices, 5 drafts, 5 tiles, so every turn is incredibly deep and crunchy and so rich, and I was blown away by this, especially when played as a 2 or 3 player game. I have to say, I've only played as a 2 player game. As 2 or 3, each player plays 2 teams. And so you get to make 2 choices, and at the end of the game, Kenichiya style, your worst team is going to be what's scoring. So really, in a 2-player game, you're making 10 choices. But I would love to play this as a higher player count game where, oh my gosh, okay, I can go for this pair for myself, and that would block somebody else from expanding, or I could try to get on this other suburb over here that seems like everybody's committing to, and so I'll undercut all their points. So which of these 2? Well, if I take this one, I'm more likely to be first next turn. I only get 5 of these choices. It's neat. Neat. My only complaint is the default rules, if lower player counts, has this little demolition thing that you have to use. If you're the last player, you get to destroy a tile, and that was unnecessarily cutthroat. Jen and I did not like that at all. I went on Board Game Geek, I asked the publisher designer, and they came up with a variant and said, well, hey, if you don't like that, it won't break the balance if you just want to do this instead. And so now with my little Rahdo variant, it is excellent. It is a keeper. It's number 3 of the month. It does so much with so little. Such a hidden gem. Number 3, Simplicity. All right, number 2. I'm not going to spend much time on this. Everybody knows about Carnegie. I am very late to the party on this one, but I finally got a chance to play it. Very blown away by it. It just came in at number 10 in my top 10 games of the year. Everything that everyone has said is true. It is such a brilliant mix of mechanisms. Goes to show why Javier Georges is in my top 10 designers of all time. This just reinforces it. My only complaint about the game is that I would love to see more variety, more interesting ideas in the departments. As it is right, and as I understand it, there is an expansion that will be coming soon that adds a whole bunch more departments. And if that delivers on what I'm hoping, the only weakness of this game, there's not enough variety in the types of effects you get from departments, this might push even higher into my top 10 for 2022. But as it is, both Jen and I were really blown away. And also, I played as a solo game, and I was blown away by one of the most complex, interesting, intricate, and unique engine building games I've ever played. Number 2 on the list, Carnegie. And finally, folks, number 1, another game that made my top 10 shortlist for the year, Shapers of Gaia from WizKids Games. This has got to be, the best engine builder of 2022. One of the best engine builders I've ever built. In a nutshell, the core gameplay is very simple. On your turn, we are trying to rebuild Gaia after devastation. We come out of our vault. We've got our little characters who are moving around from spot to spot. And we are trying to bring back flora and fauna. If on my turn I'm going to bring an animal back, there are several cards that represent different animals. I will pick one. I will put them in the little biome I'm in. I will spend the resources as necessary to do that. Alternatively, on my turn, I can have the helper robot move into an unbuilt space, and they will build a new type of biome so that we could then later on follow on and put more animals in those spaces. And over the course of the game, the world gets revamped and more animals show up. The important thing is, every time I bring a new animal into the world, I hold on to the card for that animal, and I add it to one of 3 different engines I am building every step of the way. And then I activate that card and every other card in that engine. So if I got a Crystal Cave card, I add it to my other Crystal Cave cards, and I activate all of them in any order. So when you are drafting these cards, both because they represent the different types of animals you want to put on the board, because there are high-level objectives of getting certain carnivores in positions, or omnivores, or herbivores, or whatever, but I'm trying to get the right animal for that, but I'm also trying to get the right animal to add to one of my engines so I can run that engine and get a huge payday. This game has a very simple rule set, and yet it is one of the richest and deepest engine builders we have played in a long time. It's also gorgeous. It also has an incredibly deep and robust, unique player power system where everybody as we get more animals on the planet, we unlock more and more special powers, almost to the point where we're playing different games. We score things differently. There's great representation in the game. The presentation is fantastic. This game is absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, it made my top 10 of the year, Shapers of Gaia, and it was my number 1 game we played in December. Okay, folks. Geez Louise. Could somebody apologize to Ruel? I am way late. I was supposed to raid him at 2 o'clock. You may have noticed when I realized, oh crap, I've gone way too long. I was really zipping through those last things. But folks, I am so sorry. Let's see. Is he online? Because I promised him I'd raid him at 2, but I had to finish this. Let's see. Let's get online and look at Ruel Gaviola. All right, there he is. There's our... All right, there's an ad. All right, yes. Come on. Let's see. Let me really... Oh, come on. Stupid Twitch. Oh, you know what this means? I need to resubscribe to Ruel. Subscribe. I'm subscribing to Ruel. I am using my Prime, so I can skip ads. Folks, did you know if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, it's just that easy to subscribe and then never see ads? Okay, there he is. Oh, he is ready to go. Okay, folks, I want to do some Q&A. There is no time. He put on Spock ears. Go say hey to Ruel. He's been very patient. I've been a very bad friend. I talked way too long. Let's go raid Ruel, and you will have a great time. It'll be a Trekkie dream this afternoon. So the raid is going to launch. Sorry, folks. I will answer questions. Anybody who asks questions, I'll direct message you via Whisper. I'll do that later. But for now, go raid well in 3, 2, 1. Raid! Go! All right, there we go. Oh, phew, I'm sorry. I'm still here, folks. Yeah, I'm ending the stream now. Okay, talk to you. So long. Bye-bye. Oh, God.